Let's go!
Welcome back to Hall of Fame College Football. I'm your host, Jason Watkins. And if you love college football, you're definitely in the right place. So before you forget, smash that red subscriber button, like our videos, and don't forget to ring the bell so you don't miss one moment of Hall of Fame college football. What's up, Mafia family? Hope everybody is good. I am about to welcome into the show. We're still waiting on the coach, but from Unfair Sports, Mr. Eric Cooper. We just know him as Coop. What's up, Coop?
What's up, brother, man? How you guys doing?
Doing great, man. Doing great. How are you? It's freaking game week, man. It's game week.
It is. I just had my first fantasy draft, and it's a pretty funny draft. I'm probably it's me and one of the guys, the youngest by about 32 years, and it's a live draft.
So did y'all do it by like mail or by paper or what? Did it go by paper?
Pony Express. Pony Express. Yeah. We just talked to George Washington's in the group, so it's cool.
That's cool. I like it.
But bro, game week. Oh,
it's game week, baby. It's game week. We had obviously, folks, we did have the depth chart drop today a little bit. We will, when Coach gets here, I don't know if he's going to have those photos or not. We may move that to later in the week if he doesn't even make it. So we'll see what happens. But the Sooners released their depth chart today. I think there's a couple of little surprises we'll talk a little bit about there. I wanted to kind of get into this David Stone commitment talk, what it could mean for Oklahoma in the future, what it means for this program anyway, and where we're kind of at on it. Also wanted to get into some of what we saw over week 0. Obviously, the two biggest games being Notre Dame playing overseas, where Coach was at in Ireland, and putting it on Navy. And then you had USC, who, while winning by quite a bit, still looked a little leaky on the defensive side. Shocker there, right? Shocker there.
What did Dennis Green say? They are who we thought they were. It's that we knew what was going to happen. We knew exactly what was going to go down, and it did. And it's just we're not Texas Tech North anymore. And if that's Lincoln's prerogative is to continue to do that, I just personally think it's just I think it's a load of arrogance. I mean, it was the definition of crazy, is doing the same thing over and over again. And I've even seen some people talk about. I've seen some people, they're like, what does Alex Grinch have on Lincoln Riley that he's still a coach there? And I just think it is the arrogance that his offense is going to always save the day. And he thinks that he can tinker and he can make a few changes. And when we talk about that, we'll talk about the same stuff. It's just rinse, wash, repeat. It's always going to be the same thing wherever he's the coach at, and till he heads off to the NFL sunset.
Yeah, and I was on Coach I's show on Fanatic Sports on Saturday, and that's what I don't remember which guy it was. It may have been that Penn State dude he had on, but he said that same thing. He said, I think they had to have run over and killed somebody, and he was in the car, so he's just got it hanging over his head. He was
racing with the Georgia team.
Yeah, he's racing with the Georgia guys or something. So that sounds about right. But yeah, it's rinse and repeat, guys, and we'll get into that a little bit as well. Do want to talk about the best games of the week this week, of course, aside from Oklahoma's big game. They're going to be playing Arkansas State. You would hope that they don't have a whole lot to talk about as far as defense is concerned or anything like that. I think when Ty said that the other day about USC, I thought that was pretty right on. That if you didn't have much to say, you're not, they probably dominated it. You don't have anything to say about it. You could, because you're not going to judge, even if they'd have played well on offense for USC, or on defense. I mean, obviously they played well on offense, and they've got some ridiculous weapons. That receiver, I'll tell you what, wow. But kind of the same thing with Notre Dame. They looked really good. Now it was against Navy, but they did what they were supposed to do, made it a 42-3 win. It was, and I think you kind of answered a few questions about Sam Hartman and whether or not he was going to be able to make that switch to that pro style offense and without really looking too bad. Now, again, Navy, but there's some things that I saw about it. Well, hopefully Coach will get back here pretty quick and we'll talk about that. We'll talk about it either way, but if he, we'll give him some time to get on. All right. So other than that, we will get into our best games of the week. You've got Texas Tech on the road at Wyoming. Of course, you have the big LSU FSU game. We'll get into that a little bit, as well as, so we've got, let's see, I was wanting to look at that list real quick. So on Thursday night, it kicks off. You've got Florida at Utah. That's a big one. And then we'll be talking about Colorado at TCU Saturday morning. Texas Tech, Wyoming will be in the evening. South Carolina and North Carolina is another big game on Saturday. I really like this UTSA Houston game. And then Nevada at SC. We're going to see what they look like there. If they screw around with Nevada, they will put up points on them. You know, they play good football over there. And then, of course, Sunday being the finale of the big week one with LSU playing in Florida against Florida State. And so that's going to be a big game that could have some playoff implications right away. You certainly can't afford to lose again after that. If Florida State was to lose, you look at them, they got to beat Clemson twice. I think they got to beat Clemson twice either way, but they have no margin for error after that, right? It looks like they have no margin for error. I didn't get this on the list up there, but we're going to talk about I've been watching a lot of podcasts and stuff like that. And is Texas really that team? I mean, we're going to break that down and talk a little bit about it. You've got a lot of pundits that are picking them and SC, by the way, to get to the playoff. I think it's silly talk, but we'll get into that a little bit as well. And then, we'll just do a little prognostication. Who's going to win the Heisman and playoff field. We'll predict the playoff field as well. I may have a little bit different one than what I saw there. Hey, there's a coach coming in. I may have a little bit of different thought there once we get to than what I had on Saturday night. Okay, welcome into the show, the coach, Phillip Roybal. Welcome back from Ireland, sir. How are we?
Hey, great to be back, guys.
It's good to see you, coach.
It's
long flight back last night, huh?
Yeah, over 31 hours, either in an airplane or an airport.
Whoa. Better you than me, sir.
It's tough for a 63-year-old man to sleep on a tile floor at an airport.
After that much time, you just, whatever you can do, you just got to make it happen.
Just do it. That's right.
All right. I think I saw somebody in here said that they wiped my feet for you. Thank you, folks. Thank you. I did steal that from our boy down there, Nino. I thought it was hilarious when I heard that on SEC Connect the other night. I don't mind stealing it from him. He's a Texas guy. So, but make sure if you haven't already wiped your feet, what's wrong with you? Wipe your feet, folks. Come on. Make sure that we get those likes in there. We appreciate everybody being in here. We've got a lot of people in here. Steve, Hank, Sooner Lemon. What's up, buddy? Stephen G. Let's see who else we got in here. Steve B. Perfect Cracker. All right, Steele. How you guys doing tonight? Thank you everybody for coming in. Yeah, man, the good stuff, Coach. Did you wipe Ireland out of Guinness? He says.
I damn sure tried.
That's funny.
That's good stuff.
Yeah.
That's good stuff. Well, Coach, we'll give you an opportunity to kind of talk about the trip a little bit, man. I know we don't have a lot of pictures yet. We'll kind of show some of that stuff in a little while later. Hey, Brian, what's up, buddy?
Yeah, and I tell you, Jason, I know you asked me to send some pics, but and I thought I took a lot of pics, and I did. Pre-game and post-game picks.
Yeah,
I didn't take any during the game. I was sitting there as a fan and a coach.
Facebook. I just didn't get to it, so it was all good. No, but actually, it was really cool, right? I mean, tell me, what was the trip like, man? Is your first time in Europe?
First time to Europe, and it was incredible. Dublin is a beautiful city. It's old. You know, but it's got that beauty about it. the buildings, and I mean, and the people. I tell you what, we used the taxi everywhere we went, and the taxi drivers were also incredible, so awesome and kind and informative, and now the only thing though, I tell you what, I thought I was going to pass out a few times when I saw cars coming at us, and I thought we were going the wrong direction. Because boy, that kind of freaks me out on the way. They drive opposite of what we do, and that kind of freaked me out a little bit. But no, it was a great experience. Oh, it is. It most definitely is different.
Coach got freaked out by somebody in a car. That's funny shit right there.
Well, I didn't say it scared me. It just freaked me out.
It's a little different. It's definitely a little different. Yeah. So they did look good, Coach. Talks about. I mean, we talked a little bit today before you took off and you were at your grandson's draft. How'd the draft go? Did you get your boys? Did you get the guy?
The draft was not very good. We didn't get all the kids that we had tabbed to pick up. Matter of fact, we didn't get. We got one kid out of about 12 that we had listed. But that's okay. You know what that means? It means
coach them up.
Coach them up.
Coach them up, Coach.
There we go.
That's right, baby. So
coach
that's
them up.
We'll have fun again.
He likes it that way. I think he did that shit on purpose, probably. That's how he rolls. All right.
But
you don't know who got the bigger win, Notre Dame or OU last weekend. Hey, you know what, Steve?
Oh, you got a big one.
Good right there. That's a huge win, and we're definitely going to get into talking some about that. But what were you most impressed? Now, again, prefacing with it was Navy. We understand that's not something that you're not. It's not a huge measuring stick. Exactly. What it is there were some questions, though, I think, about the way that Hartman was going to run the offense, if he was going to be able to make the reads, because when you come from that mesh system that they ran, it's kind of gimmicky, kind of fit, at Wake. You don't have to make a lot of reads, No. It's kind of a one read and get it.
Yeah. And I think, obviously that was a big question across the country with Notre Dame fans and just other people asking that question. But, I really thought he was going to be fine. Hartman's a smart cat. And
he's been in college for 6 years now.
And that's the other thing. I mean, hell, he could be a granddad. So with being a granddad comes knowledge, and he's got the game knowledge that's needed. I saw that during the ball game on several occasions. But I tell you what Hartman did is the team culture. I mean, they're just cool, calm, and collected. I used to see him go into panic mode, and he just keeps them right there, even Steven. They didn't get flustered at any point. And obviously we've got a lot of room for improvement. But I will say this, guys, Navy returned 10 players on defense from last year. And if you remember correctly, they were number 3 in the country defensively a year ago. Number 3, guys. They
shut down John Rice Plumlee and UCF.
and so I tell you, I mean, so it's not like they didn't have the athletes to still play. And I think a difference maker for us was, again, going back to Hartman and pre-snap reads, et cetera, were going on. And so when you can get those pre-snap reads, and even during the play, during the live play, you can make a quick adjustment. And I saw him do that a few times, is during the play, make an adjustment to going somewhere other than he was originally going. But I tell you what, I think that the thing that impressed me offensively is we were beating the blitz packages they threw at us. Our O-line did a tremendous job of picking those up. And so it made a huge difference. I mean, Hartman was 5 for 5 when he was pressured and possible sack. He was 5 for 5, guys, for 84 yards and 2 touchdowns in those scenarios. So I thought that was pretty impressive. I think the screen game for Notre Dame looked very impressive. Which is something that we've lacked for years. And the Skittle shitters. But you know,
That's what
I
Outlaw
love it.
Football calls them, the
I
skill
love it.
shooters.
I love it. But you know, in the screen game, guys, we picked up over 70 yards in the screen game alone. But I also saw the built-in concepts we were running to attack the blitzes. You know, the quick out routes, which that's one of the first pass plays we hit out there was the quick out route. We were seeing some crossing routes and what I call a dart or a slide route, and they were reading that. If the dart or the slide wasn't there, they were turning it up on a wheel route. So they were doing some things to pick up the blitzes, which we've never done a very good job of picking up blitzes. So,
Coach,
you know,
here's where I saw the most, and I was okay with their offense. I figured they would do that, but you know what I liked that I've seen it. This is the difference when everybody's talking about go beat SC, all that kind of stuff. I think they're gonna beat SC. Here's the difference that I saw in those two football teams. One was super physical, one wasn't. It's still finesse out in Southern Cal.
Yeah.
Notre Dame's taking on a different attitude, it looks like to me.
It's a different.
They're big.
Yes.
Their offensive line is big. They're big in the trenches on both sides of the ball.
Yeah.
They get after it. I think they made a couple of mistakes in the secondary, but it really wasn't about them not being able to do. I mean, that guy couldn't throw anyway.
Well, that damn offense. They
make some mistakes.
Jesus,
right?
That offense is hard to play against. I mean, they lull you to sleep in the secondary. So, and I have to tell you, defensively, I didn't get a whole lot out of the game defensively, other than what you just mentioned. We played violently. We played aggressive. We attacked. So. But other than that, it's hard to take away much when you're playing against the option. I got to see us play, you know.
But you know, it was what I was saying is, I mean, you're not going to get a huge, you know, you're not going to get a good look at what you really got. Now, what you want them to do is, because they're going to, obviously they've got better talent. And I think that Marcus is recruiting better talent there, right?
Right.
I just think that he's doing a different thing than what you saw out of Brian Kelly. Yeah. And a lot of people would talk about that you can't get certain players to go to Notre Dame. I'm not seeing that right now.
BS.
I'm not seeing that right now, right?
Yeah.
Now, depth-wise, it may be a little tougher. But right now, I would tell you, Marcus has these guys playing violent. Yeah. They've got that attitude. And what did you think about it? Did you watch that game?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I am a massive Sam Hartman guy, and I said he's going to be a day 2 pick in the NFL draft. I think he's got the intelligence. I mean, obviously he put Wake Forest back on the map for football. And I mean, when's the last time that we talked about Wake Forest? And you know, you saw going into last year,
right?
Yeah, you saw at the beginning of last year when he had the heart issue or whatever, and you know, all of a sudden Wake Forest went from a ranked team to here it's going to be gone here soon. But I'll tell you this: is Estime he is a monster, and you know, I see him averaging 6, 7, 8 yards a carry against USC. You saw Bear Alexander, you know. He just looked like a guy. And again, like what Jason and I were talking about before you guys got here, but you know, I don't know what Alex Grinch has on Lincoln Riley outside of just blatant and obvious overconfidence that the offense can solve it. You saw it at OU when you would see. I remember several plays where CeeDee Lamb would, you know, drop a pass because you know, quit paying attention, or you'd see something like that. And it just is like, oh man, well, we're going to be back on the field for one of our 85 snaps on offense, and we're just going to take it. So, but Notre Dame, you know, you saw last year with that Nebraska Northwestern game, go over there and it just was an ugly game, and neither team looked like they were really there to play football. Notre Dame looked like they came to play football. And you got to think that the Irish portion of that, it was 100%. They wanted to go show out, and it was a great game. And you know, listen, as an OU fan, I mean, you look back at that when Kyler Murray in that 2018 game against Army, and you know, we had one mistake on offense where Kyler threw the jump ball up for an interception, and it damn near cost us the game. You know, I remember sitting.
You can't.
I mean, you couldn't keep them off the field, and that was what that
Yeah,
offense got stopped one time.
Yeah,
and
agreed.
we still won that game. But you saw you saw the lack of discipline and this, same thing over and over and over again, and you didn't see that happen to Notre Dame.
No, and and like you said, there wasn't a lot of penalties. There was a few mistakes, but I was impressed with the way the O-line worked together when they were running their, especially when the zone play, they ran the zone play, like you said, very successfully for 7 yards of carry, but they ran the duo play, which is is a lot like the zone, but you come out of that with double teams on duo, and they ran that very successfully too, and that takes that relationship with the guard tackle and center guards, and so I thought that was advanced for the first ball game. So I was really impressed with Spindler and Coogan at the guards, because that was a big question mark, but they came out aggressive and played hard. I tell you what, guys, the other thing, and you saw, we talked about Estime a bit, but Estime fumbled that ball. They took his ass out of the game, and he didn't get in again the rest of the half. And since then, coaches come out and said, you know what, everybody's going to be held accountable, and that was an awesome thing. And the other thing is, Estime didn't sit over there and sulk or throw his helmet or hell, I screwed up. You got to hold me accountable, coach. But the other backs, Payne, Price, Ford, Love, I mean, hell, they all look pretty decent. And so and then going to the receivers, guys, that was another big question mark by everybody coming into the year, because, well, y'all don't have any good receivers. And I've said this over and over. We had good receivers. We just didn't have a damn quarterback to get the ball to them. And
Greathouse looked terrific.
Oh, wow. Yeah. He looked exactly that. Great. He's going to be big time. And I tell you what, I watched Flores on several snaps, being a freshman. Yeah. I tell you what, that little booger he's aggressive, guys. He will get after your ass. He almost got in a fight. He was being so aggressive, which for a freshman, that's usually not the case. I mean, they usually get manhandled, and Tyree looked good on the plays he made. So it was good.
It was definitely good. I mean, Jason, you're muted, brother.
Sorry about that. I don't think that they hit those explosive plays that you kind of wanted to see, but I mean, they hit some good passes, and I mean, he threw 2 touchdowns to Greathouse, so I mean, it was really good. So I think that it was really, I liked it. I enjoyed the game. I think that they looked really good. Again, the physicality that I saw from them, that's not something that you've seen out of Brian Kelly teams.
No,
pretty much his entire time there. That was just not what they did.
Well,
this
and
is
the other thing,
and run over your ass. They're going to come and run over your ass, and I like to see that some people.
Well, I think the other thing is, we've played people like, hell, these guys we played last year, hell, we're kicking their ass in the first half. In the second half, they come out. I think we're going to lose the ball game, and we've played for several years through the Kelly era. We would play down to the level of the people we were playing. And I didn't see that this weekend, and that excited me too, is that we didn't play down to their level.
Well, when you start thinking about last year, they, obviously he lost the bowl game. Now, they had a lot of guys that they were missing out of that game or whatever as well, but then they lost the Ohio State game, and then they turn around and lose the Marshall game. You're like, what's going on? But so I think that if when you start looking at the way that they played down the stretch last year, Coach, the way that they kind of came together, they beaten up on Clemson the way they did. And I mean, they kind of smothered them, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I got to tell you, this is one of those dark horse teams for me. I don't think that there's anybody on their schedule that they can't beat.
Right.
I think that, going to Clemson is a little tougher than beating them at home. And
I agree.
and I think that's it. But I think that there's some questions in Ohio State. You're not getting them at the end of the year where they've already kind of gotten all their feet underneath them.
Yeah.
I think you got a good opportunity there getting them at home. If you can win that one and win the USC, now you got to take care of business in some of these other games. I think it's going to be a tough game for them. I think there's a Louisville game probably be a little tough.
Yeah.
But I tell you, Duke is probably, we talked about Duke earlier. I mean, there's some tough games in there that they cannot allow themselves
to can't slip up.
Right, yeah. But if you can get through those 3 games with just 1 loss, you got an opportunity to be in there.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to stop short of predicting that, but because I think that Clemson's really good. But what I'll tell you is I think that there's an opportunity there. I really do, and we'll see how it shakes out towards the end of the year. But this team, if they look anything, I tell you the difference in what I mean. We can go ahead and get into the SC stuff. Coop, the difference between what I saw in LA and what I saw in Ireland was total finesse and in the trenches. I mean, I'm talking both sides of the ball now. Caleb Williams looked great. You know, what's his name? The receiver. Wow. You know,
he was incredible.
That kid, I'll tell you what, he's what Ty calls Himothy. He's him. He's Himothy. You know. That dude is he's the real deal.
He's the real deal.
But we're used to seeing that from Lincoln Riley teams, right? We're used to seeing it in every position. Running backs, receivers, quarterbacks, right? What they're not, though, and here's the thing. They won. They put 56. I'm not going to go huge overreaction here, but I got to tell you, we've all seen the start of this movie.
Yeah.
We've all seen the start of this movie. Tell me what you think on that.
Well, and the one thing I'm going to say is, first thing I'm going to say is, it's the same old thing that they gave up 28 friggin' points to San Jose. Come on, man. And I'll tell you, going back just to touch back on the Notre Dame deal, they gave up 3, but those 3 were also against the second team. And so we could have pushed the shutout there, but defensively at USC, it's the same old crap they always do, and they don't play defense.
Yeah. I mean, again, we've seen this movie. Coop, what were your thoughts on it?
I mean, yeah, it's with where Notre Dame had questions as the second-year coach with Freeman. You had to come out and you couldn't throw out, lackadaisical football. You had to come out and act like that you had been prepping for this. You had this early game. It's not like they told them about it last week. So they came out and they put the business on. Well, USC knows exactly what the bugaboos say about them. And they came out and they proved us all right, that it was just more of the same. Yeah. And so, I mean, there's not much more conversation outside
Bear
of that
at all. I didn't see Bear do anything.
No,
I didn't.
I saw nothing.
The big difference maker. Big difference maker.
Yeah. No, it's you have a 100%. There's one knock on SC. And they showed that and again, who are they playing?
Yeah.
Nobody that's looking to get into any big conferences.
I'm going to tell you something. If you are playing a school that has 4 initials, you got to blow them out. You got to blow them out. Coach, don't you think? Middle Tennessee State University, got to blow them out.
Oh, you got to blow them out. I mean, and that's the thing, guys. I mean, you can't play people like that and play down to their level. And once again, with USC, Lincoln Riley, it's their mantra to score a lot of points, but then again, can't stop anybody. And guys, defense wins championships. I don't give a crap how good you are on offense. And I'm waiting to see what we can do defensively because we don't know yet. I mean, the aggressiveness, the physicality, tremendous. Yeah. But we need to play somebody that that can throw the ball
gonna
out
get
there.
there.
And yeah,
You're
yeah,
gonna find hey, you're gonna run into those guys. That's all.
yeah.
there is to
It's
it.
coming. It's coming soon. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
the one thing that I haven't understood how people were saying that schedule was weak, because it's not.
No.
There's a lot of potholes in that little road that you're going to go down this year. There's some guys, and look, I think that I don't see if they play like this against some of these others. You know, you got to keep it up from week to week.
Right.
But that is a good way to come out. And
Sure.
but like I said, in comparison, and I tell you, I jumped on a couple of those shows on Saturday night and those USC shows, and the fans, I mean, I didn't say nothing. I was watching, I did say but the fans were saying a hell of a lot more than the haters were. A lot more. They were pissed, and they want Grinch out of there. And so again, yeah. And then Coach I had even said on his show, he was like, "Man, I don't know how you don't fire that dude. How do you not fire this guy?" Right?
I don't get it. I really don't.
Look, here's what I would tell you is all that time, you know, you've had since Lincoln got there, nobody's really said anything. You know, everybody's been defending him. You know, they went from 4-8 to 11-1 in the regular season. You know, that's a big turnaround, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, you had the Heisman quarterback. It was the same kind of thing at Oklahoma the year before that. They probably could have lost 5 or 6 games, you know, in 2021.
Could you imagine if they'd had one of our quarterbacks last year?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
you think they'd have been 11-1?
If he didn't have Caleb Williams, they'd have been screwed. Yeah.
If Jackson Dart would have stayed there, it would have been chaos.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I just don't see it. And here's the deal. But even in that, here's the other thing that I think that everybody kind of forgets about. They didn't play Oregon. They didn't play Washington. They Oregon State didn't have a quarterback, and they did everything but beat them. Yeah. They shut them down. They kept them. I mean, I tell you, if we're looking at I think that Oregon State, they don't have to play. I believe Washington and USC. I think that they're going to win the damn conference. Now that they got DJU, a guy that can actually throw the football, and they're going to do some things that are more up his alley. I think that Oregon State wins that conference, man. I just do. You know, and it may be a hot take or whatever. It may be it's kind of a long shot pick, but I think that they're as good as anybody. And you know, Jonathan Smith, the guys that you know, they're hard nosed. They came back from 17 down and beat Oregon in their house. Yeah, you know. So I think that and that one will be a lot of fun. We, you know, obviously next week we'll get to go over there and see Big Dave, but yeah, that's going to be a fun one to watch. Is whenever Mateo's apparently he's going to be starting, according to what he was. I don't know that he's a starter for sure, but he's going to play a lot, and he's already been looking really good. Mateo's the stud too. Yeah. But good stuff there. I mean, you know, big games this weekend. We'll get into those in just a second, folks. I know I kind of talked to you guys on Saturday when it happened, but let's just say, hey, for David Stone, everybody's all happy and everything. Excited. Finally, you get that 5-star Sooner. Cowboy, you ought to be just as happy as can be. Just as happy as can be. I saw you in here. Don't think that you're slick. I saw you in here. Now, and you're not getting away with it. Because I just saw also that you put it in there that there might be some love on McKinley. Is that right? Is that what you're thinking? We've been saying that. I think that there is. I'm pretty sure from what I can tell, and Coop, I'll throw that to you in a second. It appears to me that it's a 2-horse race there. Now, I would be a bit concerned about Ohio State, except for you keep hearing that Larry Johnson might be retiring. If that's the case, I could see maybe they're in a little late, right? Yeah. But I'll tell you something. There's a reason why we've been talking about that. This was this was the most important recruit in the class for Oklahoma. I loved what you guys were talking about the other day on your show. Where, you know, look, and we've been saying this a little bit over time. They didn't start getting the 5-star dudes at Clemson until after they won one. They can develop them, and I think that they were already doing a really good job. They weren't getting those guys. People were clamoring about it, talking about the craziest thing, like fire Todd Bates, which, yeah, I'm looking right at you there, Sooner Cowboy. But seriously, here's the deal. It is a big get. It is a big get. And thank you, Stat. But it's important that they get this guy but this also ought to tell you something. And it's what did you hear Stoney say? Look, man, they put guys in the league. And that's one thing I can say. And this is something I hadn't really brought it up, but you realize before there's not a kid that he's coached at any level, whether he was down there at what was it down there, one of the HBCUs, but everywhere he's been, every defensive lineman that he's coached has become at minimum all conference. They've recruited 7 5-stars in 10 years or something like, wasn't that right? 7 and 10 years, 5 stars at Clemson, which didn't come until after the first championship. Guys, they don't have to get all 5s. They don't to do what they need to do. They're going to get their share of them. And I mean, look at what happened once they started doing that. I mean, they're putting 3 or 4 guys in the first round, and they're going to do that kind of stuff. But this is where you have to give these guys some time. And what I would say is I'm excited about the fact that he seems like that guy. He's been recruiting for Oklahoma. Hey, Jaden Jackson's probably not a Sooner if it's not for Stoney, right?
Sure.
Yeah. I think that he pulled this class together, and I think that you may see. And look, what did Bates say? You're not going to believe what's next. That makes me wonder if it is McKinley.
Right.
It makes me wonder if it might be Okoye. And I think that Jackson is a hidden gem. Hank, I think you're so right. Hey, I was watching that IMG game. That dude was getting a lot of the double teams. And he was eating them up. He's a high 3, right? High 3, low 4, Jaden?
Yeah. You'll see a meteoric rise out of him. And yeah, here's where I'll go with this one is Stone is in. And if you aren't privy into a lot of stuff, it was not, he came here because he's from Oklahoma. That is it couldn't be further from the case. It's a 2.5-year relationship. It is his love for the university. But I promise you this, before he announced to all the recruits that he was coming, before he announced at the game. So if anybody says that he was about to pick Miami, I don't think that was the case. But in the final hours, Miami made an extravagant run at David Stone with a very ridiculous NIL package. And Oklahoma knew that they had to match it. They had to do it. And so if you think that Oklahoma's not doing their work on the NIL, you couldn't be more wrong. And then now it is, and I will say this, is his relationship, McKinley's relationship with David Stone is something that matters. I said it on our show that, Stone wasn't going to be the thing that was going to tip Dominic McKinley. It was going to be a full-on press. And, this announcement comes on Friday, and it is going to be, right now, if I had to pick, I'd pick Oklahoma. And you got Nigel next week. And there's some rumors about visits and stuff coming up this week from other folks too. And so again, that power line graphic is still fully in play. It is fully in play. As far as Zena, Umazulu, I'm not ready right there, but if you end up with Wyatt Gilmore, Jackson, David Stone, Nigel Smith, Dominic McKinley, that's not, if you say, I don't know how to react to that, it's because that's never happened here. Since the rankings, that's never happened here.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mentioned it on our show also. You look at what happens in our first year in the SEC next year. You are going to run. Oh, what's up, doggy?
That's old Norman.
You have a massive amount of first-year quarterbacks next year in our first year in SEC. You've got Bama, who is probably going to either still be sticking to that run game quarterback, or they're going to be bringing in their freshmen. And I promise you, they're going to have a fresh, you know, he's coming in. I'll think of his name here in a second, or if somebody in the chats wants to help me out. He is going to be a star. South Carolina is going to be replacing Spencer Rattler. Tennessee is going to be bringing in, you know, their freshman quarterback. You are going to have Auburn, which is Auburn. LSU is going to be breaking in a new quarterback. Missouri is Missouri. Texas is going to most likely be breaking in a new quarterback. So you have freshman quarterback or transfers in at almost every stop in the SEC next year. So what really puts pressure on a quarterback? You collapse the pocket around him. And Jay brought this up, but if you can somehow convince a couple of these older guys to come back for one more year on the defensive line, and that just adds right there. Depth. Because
competitive
you need
depth.
Yeah, you got to have the competitive depth. But again, everything that you're hearing about Don McKinley is 100%. The race is not run yet, because I've heard now that Texas is not part of the conversation. It's an A&M OU battle right now, and I think that we owe those you know what's something for a couple between Dindy and Hicks. I think we owe them one. So this is amazing. And if you've had frustration for Todd Bates, you know, you just didn't wait long enough. I mean, this was his first full recruiting cycle. Yeah. And how's he doing this with what we put on the field last year? It's relationships and a proven track record.
Well, and you know, guys, early on, y'all remember early on in the shows, people kept saying, "Oh God, recruiting is not going well. It's this, it's that," and we kept talking about, guys, relax, right. And you know, they're gonna come. They're coming. They're getting there. And
you talking about Julian Sayin?
What's that?
I was asking Coop if he was talking about Sayin.
Okay.
Oh yes, Julian Sayin.
Yeah.
But
go ahead, Coach. Keep going. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. But I'm just saying, guys, what y'all are bringing in, incredibly, some great defensive players, and again, defense wins championships, man. Offense wins games, and defense wins championships, and y'all are putting a core nucleus of players that are going to be pretty darn incredible.
Well, and that's what I was saying is with Stone, he's that guy that comes in, and I mean, he's kind of magnetic as it is. I mean, everybody loves him. I mean, people. I think Miami was the fans of Miami were upset, but they were upset not because they felt like he was trying to do them wrong or anything. I mean, they've been dumping money in everybody's pocket trying to get them there, right? This whole deal is that's what they're doing. But they weren't really mad at him. They were mad that they didn't get him. So I think they were more pissed off at their coaching staff for not getting him, right? Because he's there in the state. They felt like they should be able to pull it. Now, what I'll tell you is it just tells you more about that whole relationship recruiting thing, right? That's why you know that the relationship recruiting matters. It does. If you're not recruiting on more than just cash in their pocket, then you're not getting there. I mean, and I think that if there was consideration for another school, I don't know that Michigan State was completely out of it. He loved Mel Tucker. You know, he loves Mel Tucker. I think that there's something going. I mean, he likes the guy. A lot of people like Mel too, by the way. But I just think that it's one of those things that this is important. And look, this is going to mean look at how violently he plays. That guy gets his hands on you, you're in deep shit. Right? I mean,
no, exactly. Yeah. Well,
it's just going to be fun.
And you know, guys,
to see them playing with that attitude, like what we see at Notre Dame, where they're getting big in the trenches. Stat guy said in here a second ago, the O-line is going to be important too. They're working on that too. And you got one of the best offensive line coaches in the country, period. Yeah. You know, he puts guys in the first round of the draft year after year after year, and Bill Bedenbaugh. Yeah. Tyler Guyton's probably going to go first round. I mean, TCU didn't want him. Didn't want him. He's going to come here. He's going to go be a first rounder now. Yeah. You know, there's something about the way that guy does things that it tells you. But hey, this is not a finesse football team anymore. It's not going to be a finesse football team anymore. Now we're gonna run up the score, but they're going to beat you up too. And so, you see it in the way that they're building that running back room. You see the way that they're building that line, and you see the way that they're building from the front line out and getting real defensive. And look, guys, this is what won the last national championship that Oklahoma won. Was they were nasty on defense. Josh was good, and the offense worked perfect. But I'm going to tell you, that was defensive. We know that.
Yeah. Well, Jason,
when they started getting less good on defense after Venables left is when they were losing pretty badly, right?
Right. Right. But Jason, just like you said, though, both of y'all said, both of you guys have said this, is recruiting is about relationships, and y'all are building those relationships with those players, and also, and I go back, and you mentioned it earlier with Notre Dame, Brian Kelly wasn't able to bring these players in because Brian Kelly didn't have relationships with these players. Brian Kelly was too damn busy on the golf course. Right? He hated recruiting. Right. He was always on the golf course. And so, but Marcus Freeman has changed that whole culture because of the coaches he brought and their relationships they've created with some of these players, which you're starting to see. And y'all are doing the very same thing, is the relationships that are being created there. And guys, it doesn't matter whether it's recruiting in football. And Jason, you've heard me say this a million times. Life is about relationships. So
it is, man. And that's funny. What's this about? Do tell. All right.
So I got to address. So I had a nice little ingrown, and if it's right there doing all these podcasts, I just jack with it, and then all of a sudden it looks like I've got a boil on my neck, and so yeah, pretty fun. But yeah, this is my highlighter shirt. It's the days of advertising and dressing up in a suit and everything like that, that's all gone. And so I got about 17 different versions of this that I wear.
Like nice.
Yeah.
That's I got a bunch of them too, man.
I want to say, so
a lot of golf.
I saw somebody say that John Blake used to pull these gigs. You saw a lot of really, really great players in the Blake era, and he just was not a good head coach. And so, for anybody who says we might be the next Notre Dame, I think they should probably gone, this is another John Blake era before they try to do the next, Nebraska, not Notre Dame.
Nebraska.
But again, like that whole argument on, the next Nebraska was, you took away the recruiting fertile ground of Texas.
Man. Yeah, that's such a lazy ass take when people say that stupid shit.
No, it's absolutely ridiculous. You take away.
Tell you, Nebraska didn't start getting stupid until well after Osborne was gone, and they were. When they pulled that crap and left, and then they fired. What was his name?
Frank Solich.
Solich, yes, for sure him. But then they got a little better when they got what's his name too, that other defensive coach. Yeah, Bo Pelini. They fired him too, and he just won like 8 or 9 games, and they fired him, right?
Yeah.
And they've been trashed since. But the biggest thing is that they lost their pipeline because they weren't playing anywhere close to Texas. You're not going to get in there and take away the pipeline that Ohio State has, not that Ohio State's a national recruiting country, but they're going to get the Midwest guys. For sure.
I would say Wisconsin, Michigan, Ohio State,
Notre Dame.
All those, yeah.
There's those recruiting grounds they did not belong to Nebraska. And you remember back in those days that they used to be real heavy in the JUCOs, right?
Yeah.
A lot of those guys came from JUCO ball. Tommy Frazier was a JUCO guy, wasn't he? It seems like he was.
Yes, I think he was.
Yeah,
he was. But you know what? When I was coaching back in Wichita,
if you don't have a pipeline into Texas, you're screwed.
Absolutely.
Not only does Oklahoma is never going to lose that because they're still going to be playing in Texas. In fact, now they'll be playing still 2 teams down there.
Well, on top of that,
because of BB going to Clemson, this is probably the best thing that ever happened. People that like to try to say that they ran them off, stupid shit. First of all, it's stupid. That's not what happened. Now, I'll tell you that Coach Stoops screwed that up, but he actually probably did him a favor because now when he went over there, he opened a pipeline into Florida that Oklahoma really has not had.
Yeah.
For defensive guys and for speed, this is a big deal. So whatever happened, and I mean, nobody's perfect. I'm not bad mouthing Stoops. What I'm saying is that even though, you know, people like to say that, and that's their little, you know, that's the haters, you know, narrative that they like to chuck out there, is that y'all ran him off once already, blah, blah, blah. And not to say there weren't still people trying to do it after the first, you know, 3 losses last year. But look, if you're ready to run this cat off now, and they're recruiting like this, what the hell are we thinking? You know, because I mean, we're being a little, there's been some folks that have been a little bit, what's the word I'm looking for here? Spoiled ass rotten. Like it just, we're entitled to these 5 stars or some shit like that on the defensive tackle position. What, are you kidding me? We hadn't had, when's the last one that they got there, Coop? It was
Gerald McCoy. Just plain and simple.
Yeah, that's 20 years ago.
We had Washington, who was a defensive end, and I think he was a 5-star guy. And maybe I think Zach Latimer was a linebacker / defensive end. But I wanted to chime in on something that you just said, because Bob Stoops did encourage Brent to go find something different. He also sent Josh Heupel to go look for something different. And we can't sit here and criticize Bob Stoops for, you know, making tough choices when we're sitting there slamming Lincoln Riley for not being able to make one.
For not making tough choices. I wasn't too sure that I agreed with what, I mean, you kind of know how that one went down. With I didn't think it was cool. And Josh still, apparently Josh didn't go to the Pirates funeral because Stoops was there, from what I heard. I don't know if that's really true or not, but I hope that's not.
I mean, I don't think we're ever going to find that out. Yeah, Clayton Smith was a 5-star, and you know
Clayton Smith. Yeah.
What
happened?
But Josh Heupel is slowly starting to kind of come back around. I think that him and Stoops still have some issues, but was it Rocky got inducted into the Hall of Fame? You know, Heupel was there, so. It's
he needed to be. It's good, and I'm glad. And whatever happens, I mean, stuff happens, man. And Coach, you know this. Sometimes even your friends, you can't get along with them at certain times. You know what I mean?
It happens, man.
And coaches kind of need to move around a little bit. I think it was the best thing in the world for Venables is to go and hear another voice.
And Heupel.
Maybe the same. Hey, look, Heupel's the dude just wins football games, you know?
Yep.
No, who didn't? Yeah. But last 5-star interior defensive lineman was McCoy. Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right. Because the last 5-star rushing was, you know, PJ was last year. So that was, you know, for as far as interiors were concerned. Anyway, here's the thing. It's not an entitlement, guys, and especially when you haven't won anything. And you haven't put a defense on the field in a decade. That expectation is and I still think, you know, I was telling Jay the other day, I think that Ashton Sanders is going to be a stud, right?
Yes.
I mean, he's been developing, and I think that guy's what he looked like from his junior tape to his senior tape was way different, right?
Did you see the graph? Did you see the graphic of him? I think it was either right before he committed or right after, but it's him standing on the goal line. And it says something like, I'm standing here and you're going to have to move hell and high water or something like that to get through me. And that's that mentality where you're like, you know, holy shit, you know, what do we got going on here? And that guy he's going to be one of those people that this coaching staff develops. And then all of a sudden people are gonna be like, holy hell, where did this guy come from? And you're going to be like, oh yeah, he came in the same class as, you know, PJ. So yeah, I mean, we've got a riches at defensive line just from this year. And then you stack up next year and it's going to start looking it's just going to start looking silly.
I like G-Baby a lot too still. I think, hey, look, let's get into this. Let me pop these up here. Let's take a look at the depth chart. We'll start off, since we're talking defense. Let's throw that one up there. Okay. So our defensive depth chart, no real surprise. Rondell Bothroyd, that's the reason they brought him in, was to get him there. R. Mason Thomas, look, he's been kind of pushing that in too. So, and I think that's a bit, and then you've got PJ who's probably down on the, but hey, don't be surprised if that guy ends up popping up somewhere a little higher up. And I think he is down on somewhere else. He's higher up on it. But okay. Then you have Jonah Lalau. They brought him in for the same kind of thing at defensive tackle. And listen, we saw that guy at Big 12 Media Days. That guy is a big dude. He's a big dude. Yeah. Oh, man. That 289, that's bullshit. There ain't no way.
I agree.
There ain't no damn way. Yeah, so Jordan Kelly, Jacob Lacey, I think that he's still got some injury issues, I think, doesn't he, Coop? And then G-Baby or Devon Sears at that one tackle spot. I think they still have them. Ashton Sanders is kind of popping in there to the top 3 at the other position there. So, I mean, look, he may be a little undersized as far as height's concerned, but his wingspan's pretty good, and the dude is powerful, right? He's just powerful. So Ethan Downs is still showing as the defensive end on the other side. He's preseason all Big 12. They love him. I think that he's going to have to show that he can get to the quarterback, though. I think that this year it's time, right? And I just worry about his speed, you know what I mean, and whether he's not going to do that or not. But there you've got Trace Ford. Look, Trace Ford's going to get his 20 or 30 snaps like we talked about before, and he's going to make something. Jaron Kanak is going to – it looks like right now they're going to stick with him at that middle linebacker position. I tell you what, Phil Picciotti being right there in the mix, I think you're going to see him in the game some. And the tape that I've seen on him when he was at IMG, good grief, man, that guy's a stud too. I like all these young guys that there's so many of them that you got to play them. Now you got Stutzman staying at the will position, I think. The Cheetah, what do you think about that Cheetah deal right there? Do you think that is a
well, I mean, I think that when you look at the defensive line across the board, you got to have somebody somebody's got to go at the top. You know, like the wide receivers, it's not going to matter about starts. It's going to matter about targets. And the same thing, if you break down to this Cheetah, is Justin Harrington has earned this. Deshaun McCullough is taking a lot of time to kind of catch up. And I think that from the passing perspective, I think if it's more of a pass heavy team, you're going to see Harrington out there. And I brought this name up, and so Sooner fans, I'm taking you back. And if you heard me the other day, there's a lot of Chijoke Onyenagetcha vibes from Justin Harrington. You know, it's another guy who came in with just ridiculous size, ridiculous speed, and we just waited and waited and waited and waited, and we never saw it. So, we've seen this, for 3 years now, and people talk about Justin Harrington is going to be a dude. But I do think that he is going to be running out there at that number one. I think that if you've got a 3rd and 3 or a 3rd and 4 or something like that, I think you see Deshaun McCullough come in. I think that's, you're going to see Sammy, and you're going to see other guys slide down in that Cheetah spot that aren't Sammy Omosigho. You're going to see Peyton Bowen down there. You're going to see Reggie Pearson down there. And you've got between those safeties with Pearson, Bowen, Bowman, and then, maybe even a Robert Spears Jennings, you've got guys who can come down and take your head off, and they're safeties. And think of Brandon Everidge. It's the days of blitzing at Brandon Shelby from the nickel back because we don't have anything to press up the field. Those things are going to be gone. And you're going to see Danny Stutzman and Jaron Kanak are going to both have opportunities when those defensive linemen hold up their blocks. You're going to see, don't be too confused in seeing Danny Stutzman and Kanak in the backfield quite often because they've got gaps in there. But yeah, I mean, that's my take on the Cheetah is I think that Justin Harrington, he's earned it.
Okay. And look, I know we're all high on Deshaun McCullough, and I think that here's the beauty of that is it's like you said, I think that you're going to get snaps because, and particularly at those lineman positions and some of those, look, the big boys got to get some, they got to stay fresh. The fresher they are in the fourth quarter, you're able to get a blow on a drive that may be taking a little while or whatever. It's big to be able to run in fresh guys every couple of plays is a big deal. What I was really wanting to bring up was there's also, when you start looking at down here in the secondary, look at these freshmen are starting to make moves. You got Desire Wagner, who looks like he's going to be the number 2 behind Woody, along with Walker. But then Jaden Rowe, and then at the other side, you've got Kendall Dobie or Makari Vickers, which we've talked about. Seatbelt, that guy, the kid might be one of the best athletes on the team. Period. You've seen those big old tree trunk legs of his. He can jump out of the gym. He literally shut down the entire side at the All-American Bowl. Nobody threw at him once. They didn't even think about it. I mean, he was blanketing those guys, and he shut down that whole side of the field. Same with Josiah, and like we talked about him, he's a bulldog. He's a littler guy, but I mean, he brings that pop. So these guys are. I think that this is a good thing, and you don't necessarily want them to have to get in there and sink or swim type of deal. So it's good that but they're going to get in there and push for it, because again, we've talked about this, Coach. Iron sharpens iron. When you've got guys that are competing for that spot, that's a big deal, right? I mean, it makes them hungry.
Baby, competition makes you better.
And
Absolutely.
And Jason, if you're looking at this depth chart, there's something that nobody's looking at. Think of special teams. Think of special teams with guys like Robert Spears Jennings, Jaden Rowe, Jacoby Johnson, Daya McCullough, Lewis Carter. How would you like to be? You're getting your brains beat in by Oklahoma. It's the middle of the third quarter, and then this little freshman, Lewis Carter, runs out on the field, and you're the third or fourth string running back, for Arkansas State, and that's the conversation you're gonna have, when you break through the line or something. You look at that defensive depth chart, that second string. If you just took the number 2s, I still think that's the best defense we've had in a long time.
Wow. Yeah, listen, I mean, I really do think so too. I mean, and again, it's been the buzzword around this team since day one, is really to have competitive to build it. And if you start thinking about what you saw last year after the mass exodus that left out of here, either going with Lincoln or going elsewhere or going to the NFL or whatever, this was not a full team. Now you're looking at these guys, it's not all on Danny Stutzman to make every tackle. It's not on, and there was guys that they had a lot of promise. But now you're starting to see it to where you're going to see some of these guys, they're going to make contributions where they can. And I think that you genuinely see these guys liking each other and really liking to compete with each other. And this is what they breed in this coaching staff. So this is, I don't know how great everybody can see this, but kick returner, you're going to have Bowman returning kicks along with Peyton Bowen. You got to have him in Jalil Farouk. Gavin Freeman.
G Freaky at the punt return.
Jeez, man. Yeah. Wow.
And I'll say this, I'm not too sold on Zach Schmidt's leg strength, but Lincoln wanted nothing to do with anybody returning punt or kicks. And so he just, said, kick it out of the back of the end zone. If Zach Schmidt kicks it and somebody catches that ball, the 2-yard line or the goal line or something like that, it's not going to be very many. Now, I'm going to say this: the special teams is going to be freaking fun to watch. And I think Chicken said, nobody's talking about the new snapper and the holder. I think you're going to see both Elzinga and Plaster. I think it depends on if it's a short punt, you're going to have Elzinga. If it's if we need a boom, it's going to be Plaster. Because we need to be able to pooch kick, and that's one thing that we were really, really bad at last year.
Yeah, no doubt. Now let's get into this offensive side. This is a big deal for me. In fact, I really like this. Is you start looking at it. Look, Marcus Major, we've talked about this guy a lot. This is a guy that came in with, there was making comparisons to Adrian Peterson.
Yep. Looks like
that's tough. That is tough to do, right? But he looked the part. He's had such a problem with injuries, And what I could tell that what BV said today, and in fact, I've got it pulled up here, but this is something that this is to me, this is a big sign for what it is. So I'm going to share this one real quick.
Again,
can you guys hear
players
this?
game, players make plays. You know, my job is to recruit and have the best, strongest roster we can put together. And anytime you get an elite player, you put a lot of hard work into the process. Sometimes years go into recruiting a prospect. So when it goes your way, obviously there's reason to celebrate. You celebrate hard, you just don't celebrate long.
How big were year 2 and year 3 and the recruiting cycle back in Oklahoma when you got here in '99, and then also at Clemson on the defensive side of the ball when you left there?
Again, I think year 2 and year 3. To your question is about development with players that you do have and creating credibility with that, and that allows you to recruit better players, develop relationships, show a body of work that is worthy of the attention of recruits. But as you know the story, you've already watched the movie here at Oklahoma, and what we were able to build. And then again, to a certain degree, took a young roster at Clemson, and with some early success, we were able to recruit at a pretty good level. And again, a few 5-star type guys, but many 3-star type guys that became exceptional players. And I think evaluation process is critical, and that we don't recruit off the top ranking list. That's not where we start at all. We really try to utilize our camp as an opportunity to evaluate. We don't run a combine. We don't run 40s. We don't measure them. Don't put them on a scale. We do football and try to evaluate people. And that's a big part of all of it, is finding, the most talented guys that also are great leaders, and guys that love the game and love the work, and have a sense of maturity to them, and have a good support system, all those kind of things. Mm-hmm.
Okay, we're starting down the line here. Jenny?
Hey, Brent, Reggie Pearson. What was it about him that initially intrigued you to bring him in as a transfer? And what role do you expect him to play in your secondary?
Instincts, physicality, experience. And then once you visited with him, very mature, focused, driven, quiet, just about his business. So felt culturally it would fit in. Never asked for any guarantees whatsoever.
Into this, and
are you sick of having issues with your webinars, wasting tons of time on troubleshooting with attendees?
taking on the role of head coach. You'd always been involved with the defense. You're still involved with the defense. Critiquing yourself.
In decisions.
I'm going to find that in a second real quick. I want to talk about, see where he was talking about having Marcus Major in there. Now, that was good. That was a good conversation because he was talking about Stoney and being able to do that. And I think that, yeah, putting in that time is a big deal, right? I like it. I like it that they were able to do that. That's a big deal. Sorry about that, guys. I had you muted because I think it was echoing. Did that help whenever I hit it on the mute? It was all good? Okay, cool. Yeah. So, anyway, I just wanted to kind of talk a little bit about that. But listen, when it comes to this Marcus Major thing and Tawi, if you remember back in spring, I know Dylan Gabriel was real, and Jeff Levy has been high on Tawi Walker for the whole season, right? I mean, ever since this the spring. I think these guys are again, more of that depth in there. You had some injuries, and what the word I was looking for that he was talking about was that you had guys that took advantage of their opportunity in these two guys.
Yeah.
And we know that Marcus has been hurt a lot over the last few years. And so that's been a big deal for them that, we've all wanted to see him get in there. And I even kind of thought he might end up, transferring this past. I mean, me and Chris were talking about it one day that we felt like that he might end up transferring. And maybe that was the case, what he needed to do. I'm so glad he's going to get an opportunity here. I want to see him go and because he is electric. He is electric. Whenever he gets whenever he's healthy, he can go. So I'd love to see him get an opportunity. Sawchuk and I mean, you still got time if you're Gavin Sawchuk and you're obviously these other guys. So it's Javonte and Sawchuk got time. They're a freshman and a redshirt freshman and a sophomore, right? A true sophomore, same year. But if they got hurt a little bit too, which obviously that was a big reason why Gavin didn't get a lot of playing time last year. So it concerns you a little bit. But the good news is you've got these other guys. They haven't really put Hollywood or Hollywood Smothers or Hicks into that rotation, I guess, just yet. But I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if you ended up seeing them in the mix of it at some point this season as well, right? I mean, this is that's a great place to have depth at as well. If you what were you talking about with Notre Dame? They were running 4 and 5 guys out there at them, keeping their guys.
Great football teams. That's one of the separators. There's several separators between great football teams and all you others that I call. The one of the separators is the depth of your football team. And I'm seeing here, if you're looking at y'all's depth charts, y'all are creating that as well. Not only are you starting to get those 5 stars to put up front, but now you're creating depth within those. And that's what makes you successful.
Right.
Yeah. And you also got to think Hollywood Smothers was hurt all year last year. And so he didn't get to play. I mean, he didn't play football last year. So he's got the opportunity to, really sit back. And, I know he had a little bit of trouble with maybe leaving the team. But, how many times have we had a full running back room and then you get people, coming in, at fullback running the football, on a Thursday night game or Friday night game or whatever against Iowa State. Like, this is good. It's a good problem to have. And we saw it a lot on the defensive side. That you're like, there's a lot of really talented guys that are listed at number 3. And it's going to be the same thing here. And Javonte and Gavin both had a little bit of injuries in the offseason. And so, I think that this is, again, like Harrington, Marcus Major has earned it. Nobody wants to tackle Tawee Walker. And you know what? We'll get to see Arkansas State, have some fun with that. And you know what? I don't care if Tawee averages 10 yards a carry. I want to see him average like 4 yards a carry and then like 3 or 4 like injury timeouts.
Right. Yeah. Punish people. Punish
them.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. Anything else you saw in here that you really wanted to get on? I mean, obviously the offensive line is starting to look like they've kind of put together their gelled one. What you expected their O-line wise. Andrew Anthony, I guess Jaden Gibson is pushing for that second spot. I think you're going to see some Jaden Gibson. If he can hold on to the football, that's going to be a good thing. Now he's been doing it in practice. From everything we hear, he's been doing it. Norman, you got to get down, buddy. He's been doing it in practice from everything we hear constantly, right? So hopefully he did get that back because I feel like the sky's the limit with him. Once he catches one and takes it to the house, I mean, I think his confidence is going to go through the roof, and he could be a real problem with his speed and size, right?
Yeah, you just need to see him catch the football. It's not even taking it to the house, per se, but you want to see him. You want to see him catch that first one, whether it's for a first down or something like that. But you want to see that. You want to see that out of him with that offensive line. This might be the best offensive line we've had since 2018. So, in 5 years. But remember how Bill Bedenbaugh likes to do this is you're going to see Caden Green. You're going to see Troy Everett. and Jake Taylor are going to be the first 3 guys in. They're going to have a really good, just fill it in. And you may even see something to where, if Matire needs to, get a playoff or something like that, you might see Savion Burr scoot over there and then a guy come in at his spot, because that's Bill Bedenbaugh's calling card, is the flexibility on positions. Tight end. Guys, Blake Smith is a blocker. He is what Blake Bell is in the NFL. He is a blocking tight end.
Yep.
Fanuel, he is just, he was a basketball player in, it was at a D2 school or whatever. Cade McIntyre's in there because of need. But still, Levy likes to run that 11 personnel. He likes to have 2 tight ends on the field. Stogner is not a speed guy. He's not what we had with Mark Andrews or Calcaterra or any of that stuff. He is just going to be a guy who is going to be a big, humongous asset right in the middle of the field at 6'6". Outside of that, we just need him to stay healthy and be the Austin Stogner, get your 25 receptions, 3 or 4 touchdowns. But it is more about blocking when it comes to the tight ends, the wide receivers. That's how you're going to find your way on the field.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think there's a lot of big surprises as far as the slot. You're going to get Drake in there, Gavin. I think that you're going to see Gavin in there a lot, and then Jalil Farouk. I think that that's who they want to see. I think that he played well enough at times, and you've seen him have big games and just not string them together. So. Andrew Anthony, of course, he's got that speed. He had a freaking touchdown in the playoff a couple of years ago, so against Georgia. So yeah. Anyway, I like this offense. I think that, with Dylan Gabriel, and I'm agreeing with a lot of what a lot of you guys are saying. I get it with the tight end position. They're a little light there. Look, the beauty of offense these days, and particularly the offense that Jeff Levy runs, you can move some guys around and do some different things. You don't necessarily – tight ends are kind of a luxury at this point. Now, it's a luxury they're going to have starting in this next season. But again, it was another one of those things that they didn't really do. They got a couple of decent ones, but once Lincoln left, then it kind of shook up that room. It just kind of shook up that room. So that's another one of those things that we're going to see that it's just going to take a little bit of time. But I think Stogner, if he stays healthy, you may not need anybody else because he's that dude. He is that dude. So, I'm excited about it anyway. What's up, Lester? Thanks for coming in. Look, we're going to get away from this and kind of get into some funner stuff here. Let's talk a little bit about – let me get back to my notes. Let's talk a little bit about let's troll Texas. Are they that guy? Are they that team? Are they that team?
Yes, they are. They're that team that's not going to be successful, as people are saying.
Thank you, Coach. I was hoping that's what you'd say.
I've said it before. Texas is back is the same thing as winter is coming. It's something that strings you out. It's funny. Like the fact that we're making fun of it is just. Again, the just unabashed arrogance that it's like how many off seasons is Texas going to win and not do it on the field? So many things have to go unharmed or unmessed with for Texas to actually put it all together. That offensive line is getting a whale of a pass because they've got promise and they've got one guy. That running back room, you took away the heart and soul of both their offense and defense from last year. When you take away Bijan Robinson, that is, how many games did he absolutely bail them out? And you know what? They win that Oklahoma State game.
Roschon too. Listen to what who was it that was saying that the Pearson was telling Jay that he was better than Bijan, better balance, better, he's been looking really good in the offseason and in the preseason coming into it. I like Roschon too. They had both of them. Now, let's not get it twisted and act like they don't have special running backs in that room. There's not a problem of talent anywhere in there. That's the whole thing. But Coop, I've been seeing everywhere. I mean, I've been having a lot of freaking windshield time the last few weeks, right? So I'm watching and listening to a lot of podcasts all around the country. I mean, I love to do that anyway. I cannot believe how many people are putting these guys in the playoff and talking about shit. I had to tell Coach I the other day, you guys are freaking crazy if y'all think they're going to go in there and beat Alabama. They're not going to do that shit. They're not going to do it. I just don't buy it.
And you know what? They are a Xavier Hutchinson dropped pass away from being one win better than us last year.
Mm-hmm.
Xavier Hutchinson, I mean, he may have had a bet on the game. Who the hell knows at this point with Iowa State? But he dropped a wide open.
They're a year ahead. They're a year ahead. Now, they may have more talent in there overall, but it's not going to – I mean, I feel like Oklahoma's caught up with the portal and doing some of that other stuff because Texas doesn't really like to use the portal much, right? They haven't used it a ton other than with Quinn.
And – it's who said it, as long as they pay, we need to pay a chicken. Oh God, I hate giving him credit, but yeah, as long as Malik Murphy stays on the bench, that's great because you know what, the first, it's not going to happen against Rice, but it's going to happen in Alabama to where you're going to see those message boards lighting up and saying, all right, at what point do we take a look at Manning? Like it's just Arch they're going to skip over that big transformer and they're going to ask for him right away.
They'll do that?
Yes, I do, because it's Texas.
If I tell you what, and God forbid, I don't want to see the kid. I don't want to see him, but I tell you what, if they don't play him, the Sark don't play him, they ought to fire his ass, and he ought to go. I just hope he doesn't end up in the SEC somewhere else that uses him correctly, because Malik is going to be a superstar. Yeah, I think he would start at 90% of the places in the country right now, and I don't even think that Quinn is bad. I'm not telling you that I think Quinn is bad. I just don't think that he has every tool that Malik has. Right? No. I just don't see it, and I think that he's that guy that. He's kind of like Vince Young, man. A lot of speed, big, and he's got a big arm, and he's probably a little more accurate than Vince was. So it's a low bar. It's scary. You call him a transformer. I've been calling him that ever since. I think you're right. I think he really is that guy. He's Optimus Prime looking dude. I mean, just wow. So it's scary.
And then you flip over on the other side is they're putting a lot of trust into a freshman linebacker, and with Demarius Overshone leaving for the NFL, that guy was 100% he was that guy. And he was the emotional leader. I would say probably put him in the Jordan Evans type of linebacker. He wasn't an All-American, and he wasn't, going to be a first or second round draft pick or anything like that. But he has 100%, he ran that defense, and those defensive backs. Right. You saw some really, really low caliber quarterbacks. Imagine that a quarterback, could hurt them. But that defense is suspect, and that offensive line is getting a free pass right now. And Quinn is going to have to take more of a load on his shoulders this year, and he's going to have to prove that he's ready for it. And I think we'll learn a lot. I expect Alabama to run the ball 60 plus times in that second game. And
I'm going to tell you something too. Their quarterback can do that too, man. If they end up playing who it looks like. That's another question I was going to bring into that though. When we're talking about that game, I was just going to bring up real quick. Let me get rid of that.
Jaden Milroe. I mean, Jaden
Milroe was a big boy.
Yeah, and again, it's when we were talking to Ty the other night for the Stone announcement, I asked him about that, and I can't remember if it was off screen or if it was on the show, but I asked him. I said, what do you think about Jaden Milroe? He said everybody was all over him because he was trying to run the Bryce Young, Bill O'Brien offense, and that was not his game. Now, I don't know, Coach, maybe you can chime in here, but obviously when you bring in your fellow from Notre Dame, they're going. I mean, Nick Saban wants to get back to that. He wants to lean on all those 5-star defensive linemen and linebackers and safeties and corners, and he's going to say, listen. we'll throw when we have to, because they don't have a room full of first and second round receivers right now.
Yeah.
This is what he loves to do anyway, right?
Yeah. This is what got him to the success levels that he has hit, is being able to run the football. And even had some quarterbacks that were able to run the football, but that's he's going back to his bread and butter, guys.
Yeah.
Here's where I would tell you that I feel, and this is something, I've been, you hear different places here and there, but I think that when you start getting back into those early years of what they were doing, and this is right as far as it goes, he's still on the golf course, Gary Patterson. That defense has not shown that they can do it without him. They had him a lot more heavily involved by midway through the season, and they looked better on defense. I don't know that we're going to get what you want out of PK and those guys without him. And I don't think, and me and Coach have talked about this, that could be Patterson trying to get that job too, saying, no way, I'm going to freaking help you. Right? That could be what it is.
Well, he doesn't want to be part of, and I guarantee you, Gary knows they're fixing to fail. And he doesn't want to be part of that staff that's going to fail, because then he wouldn't have the opportunity.
Doesn't do stupid enough to fire him, because what I'll say about Sark is, as much as I don't think he's great at coaching, he is building a culture that you would want to see, as far as bringing it. He's recruiting at the top. He started on the offensive line he's getting defensive players.
Chase, that's great.
Go ahead.
I can give you all the friggin' talent you want.
Yeah.
But if you can't win with them, what the hell? I mean, at the end of the day, what does every university expect out of their coach?
Well, I'll tell you what, as much as nobody wants to see Malik, I don't want to see Gary Patterson at freaking Texas either.
I just think this. Gary Patterson doesn't have to do this. I think that he got there and all the culture stuff for the politics and whatnot and all the boosters. He didn't want to mess with that anymore. I think Gary Patterson getting out of TCU was good. I mean, it ran its course there. The arrow was pointing down quickly.
Yeah.
And so I would just, I don't think that Patterson would make a big difference for them. I think that PK is never been completely on his own, and you know what? Texas is going to need a scapegoat, because it's going to be hard to fire Sark if they go out and throw out a season like they did last year and lose some games that they did. Because again, I fully plan on, and if I were in Vegas right now, I would bet whatever I needed to bet on OU being 5-0 going to Red River. Texas,
but are you going to bet
Texas
that
could
on
have
Texas?
Texas could have 2 losses coming in Red River.
Yeah. And I'm not a huge Brandon, what's his name from Barstool, but I watch their show sometimes. And I was watching, they were doing their pick show or whatever. I think it was 3 or 4 days ago. But 3 out of the 4 of them picked Texas to get to the playoff. And they really, they were all saying that they thought TCU and Texas were going to go into their game at like 6-0, 7-0, whatever it is, because it's definitely not on this early part of the schedule. So yeah, look at this though. You're going to beat Rice, but then you got to go to Bama, then Wyoming. I'm sure you're going to win that one, but on the road at Baylor is probably going to be a pain in the ass for them. Again, this is a coach that doesn't make adjustments, and Aranda will make an adjustment on the defensive side of it. We saw him expose Lincoln that year. He made him look really bad. Do they have the guys? I don't know, but he could come up with the scheme to get that done. And I could see, and look, they've had issues with Kansas. Now, did he figure out what it takes to beat them? Maybe. But listen, Jalen Daniels ain't no joke. He's not no joke. So to me, I wouldn't be that.
There's also the look ahead factor.
If you look ahead of Kansas, they're going to kick your ass. You can't do it. Man.
And they get them early too. So that's the thing is, Daniels is going to be an issue, early for all these teams. And but again, the guy's got to prove the chicken, I swear to God. But they got to prove it on the defense with him. And I promise you that Baylor, Kansas, OU run, OU doesn't have something like that on their schedule.
Yeah. John, I could see them losing two. I could see them losing one of those games there between either Kansas or Baylor. I wouldn't be that surprised. Yeah. Kansas, look, Lance Leipold, we know this. Lance Leipold is a damn sight better coach than Sark is. That's just all there is to it.
Not going to get an argument from me.
So, look, and then of course you look the Oklahoma game. We owe them one, so we'll see what happens on that one. I'm not going to make a prediction. You never know what's going to happen in that Red River game, and I think that they definitely. But if they go in there thinking that they got that, that they're just going to walk all over Oklahoma, they're crazy because they should know better. But
there will be that arrogance, Jason, and they can come in with 0 losses or 2 losses, and they're going to show up and they're going to think, hey, remember how we beat them last year? I promise you, there have been workouts incorporating 49-0 in. That is not being forgotten. And with the schedule, truth serum or not, Venables is going to tell you they look at one game at a time. I promise you, more than anything, they've had people looking at the Texas film since the Texas game last year. And once that
you were alive in that game, man.
And what's going to happen when Oklahoma has a pass rush and a stout defensive, a stout front seven?
You look at it, they're not going to. That's going to be their first real test, I think. I mean, Iowa State, they're going to give you something on defense. I don't think that that's going to change, right? Offensively, who God only knows what you're going to get out of them. But I think that they're going to give your offense a test there. Aside from that, Oklahoma doesn't really have or shouldn't have a big test going into that. You know what I mean? But look at this.
Yeah.
This schedule is certainly harder than Oklahoma's. You look at it.
Yeah.
The Houston game, I mean, Dana could be gone, or he might be gone right after this one. BYU, I would consider, I think that they're trouble for, and I mean, I know they're undefeated against Oklahoma. I think they've got a winning record against Texas too. I know they've beaten them the last 2 times. Kansas State, look, they haven't had an issue with Kansas State. They beat them 6 in a row, but you can't tell me that they're not due a loss there, right? I mean, and then TCU. Look, I do agree with whoever it was that said that a few minutes ago. Hot, stinky garbage, TCU. I agree. I don't think that they're the same team. Now, they did bring in some good transfers. They got a top 15 portal class, which is the same as they did last year. But I still think that they're just not. I think they may have a down year a bit and then pop back, but I don't think it's TCU's year. Then of course
TCU can't have that kind of year again, Jason. Everything that could possibly bounced right for them last year.
Exactly. That's what I was saying. There's no way that you win 7 one-score games. And a lot of them, right? I mean, look at what they did at Baylor. They literally walked off or ran onto the field, kicked it as time was expiring. I mean, it's the craziest thing I've ever seen. That was one of the greatest deals that Sonny actually practiced it that way. I thought it was pretty cool that they were able to get lined up and pop it like that. But I'm telling you, they got break after break. And you're right. I think that though you at some point you come back to the mean there, Coach. I mean, right? You don't just continue winning these games and sliding by on the skin of your teeth, right?
No. And that's we've talked about it 100 times. It's I like Coach Dykes. I like his coaching staff, but at the end of the day, they did have a lot of luck and came up on the right end of it. And luck is a funny thing. I mean, when it turns on you, it's and you're not being lucky, then you lose many of those.
When you get it, momentum's a big deal too, right? When you catch a few breaks here and there, and then you just believe in yourself, right?
Yeah.
But again, look, I don't know however many people they lost. You got the shit beat out of you in front of God and everybody on national television. That stuff, that hangover ain't just gonna go away. That's going to take 2 bottles of aspirin. I'm telling you, I just don't see it. That's a tough one.
I agree.
I think they're going to have a tough time. I love Sonny to death. I think he's a great coach. I really do. I think he's a good game program manager. I like Sonny. I don't know that I'd want him to be an OU coach, but I like Sonny.
Right.
That being said, I think that and then they got to close off with Texas Tech. And if you're listening to the commissioner, listening to the old commissioner, Tech's got him. I think Tech's going to be very good again. I think that we're going to find out something about Tyler Shuck. He's got to show that he can play a full year. They've got to on the road at Wyoming's a little different than hosting them like Texas is going to next week or 2 weeks from now. I think that's a little different, but I do think that you're going to get something. You're going to know something about Tech here in these first 2 weeks of the season, going on the road like that. You know, they got an opportunity to go in there. They need to show out, but they don't need to be looking ahead this weekend at the Oregon game next week, or they could get hurt. I think Texas Tech, though, I mean, this is the kind of coach that is going to have those guys ready to go into Austin, no matter what their record is, and ruin their day and ruin their chances to win the conference championship. I think that there's a lot of potholes and landmines in that schedule that Oklahoma doesn't have. I would not be that surprised to see them not make it. I wouldn't be surprised if they did because of their talent, except for I just don't believe in them. I just don't believe in Sark, and it's just the bottom line. If they do, I'll be surprised. It surprises me that many guys out there and these national guys you've had, I've even heard people like Feinbaum and Pate and all that they love Texas. Shit, I don't get it.
Proof's in the pudding, boys. Proof's in the pudding.
Proof is in the pudding. TCU, just please spank CU. We're going to see. I have a feeling they're going to lose that game, boys.
Colorado has the worst. I mean, the worst roster in Division I football.
Do they though? They flipped the whole thing. They had the worst roster.
Yeah, I mean, you got a bunch of headhunters out there.
It's going to take some time, man. It's going to
without a coach that has earned anything yet. Because I promise you, that sideshow is going to turn into a sideshow when guys start getting frustrated.
Now, Coop, I'm going to ask you this. Where do you see the sideshow? Because I don't.
I think to be on brand is what you're talking about. So you're talking about just the loudness and all the on television all the time, and
Well, I mean everything. Yeah, everything that Dion was doing, what David Stone was doing, and that was going to social media, getting out there, making it look like he was transparent and just calling for guys. And they had a lot of people a lot of guys who were out to get theirs. And I think that that's what it is because when you got that massive amount of talent and there's a lot of me guys, the moment that you start losing, everybody's going to start pointing fingers. It's like a room full of Odell Beckham Jr.'s.
Well, and I tell you what, I as I've followed Prime through his career, that's Prime. I mean, he's loud, he's boisterous. Yeah. That's the way he is, whether it's Division I college football.
He hasn't stopped. He's on brand, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yes. And I think a lot of people don't like what he's doing because that's not the norm. And the norm is not to be loud and boisterous and, do the things that he has, clean out an entire roster. And be upfront about it. Guys, there's a lot of coaches that have cleaned out rosters when they've got in and they've gone into different schools, but they don't talk about it. They just do it. And so it's not brought to the forefront. But that's not anything new. But it is. And I get why people don't understand him and his loud, boisterous.
I'm not saying that you have to enjoy what he does and the way he does it.
No,
but all I'm saying is I just think he's on brand, and it's a step up. But what I'm going to tell you is that, look, what did they have at USC? They had Caleb Williams and some receivers. He's got his son and some receivers, and the kid can spin it and the kid can run. Period.
I will guarantee you one thing.
You can't tell me that you can't win some freaking football games, even some that you're not supposed to. Look, if you're not going to play defense at SC, all they got to do is stop you a couple of times. Maybe you get, I mean, look, Tulane did it. Why wouldn't somebody be? I'm not saying that they're going to beat SC,
Right.
but would it really surprise you if anybody beats USC? Because it wouldn't be. I would not. Arizona gave them all they wanted last year and almost beat them, and they were trash, hot trash.
But guys, I'm going to tell you, I'll guarantee you this: Prime will double the win record from last season. That's already that in itself is a step in the right direction. And if I would have come in to see you, I'd have got rid of those 1-11 players too.
Yeah, I agree.
We're going to figure it out.
Let's go back into, some of these other big games. Now, we were talking about Texas Tech. Obviously, that's a big game on the road for them. Let's look at some of these other ones. Okay, so you've got one of the ones that I really liked. Go ahead.
I was going to say, let's talk about the Ohio State-Indiana game because I think that's a bigger game than a lot of. I think it's a bigger game than a lot of people realize because you're starting, the guy that they made the quarterback.
Who did they make it? Did they finally name him?
It was today, and it wasn't the guy that everybody is. Kyle McCord. Everybody's been expecting Devin Brown to be the quarterback, but they named Kyle McCord. And so, again, this is. Ohio State is in those conversations too, with the talent. They've got talent up and down the field, but again, they lost a lot, and they've got two of the best receivers that have came through college football recently. They've got a good running game, and now let's see because CJ Stroud had every single bit of almost everything, and in the past couple of years. And again, it's really, really hard to keep throwing out there. We saw it, last year. Dylan Gabriel's a top 15 quarterback in the nation, and we all think he was crap because we were used to Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray, Jalen Hurts, Caleb Williams, Spencer Rattler in the first half.
Right. Yeah. No, I get it. And I think that it's the one thing, if you're going to give Ryan Day anything, you're going to give him that the dude can dial it up, and he does know his offenses, right? He knows his quarterbacks. I mean, he's putting those guys out there. They're good, right? At least at the college level. Now, what we get out of them in the NFL is different, but I would tell you that, Indiana is not the team that should be the one to do it. Now, I could see a team like, or is it Illinois that they're playing, or Indiana? Indiana, right? Yeah. I don't know that it's Indiana that's going to do it. I think Illinois is going to give them all kinds of hell that they play them, right? Because Bielema is going to slow that thing down to a snail's pace. It's going to piss everybody off, and they're going to play good defense. That's just what they do. What I also think, though, that stable of freaking receivers is out of oh my good.
Yeah.
And they add 2 or 3 more 5-stars every freaking year.
Yeah. I mean, again, until you see these receivers quit going to the first round,
you're going to because right. Yeah.
You even got to throw Jamison Williams, who ended up transferring over to Alabama. I mean, he was a first-round wide receiver. Now, he's a knucklehead, but he was a first-round wide receiver too. And he was on that same team as Chris Olave and Jackson Smith and Jigba. It's just crazy.
Right. Look, I think that they're going to be good. I think that where you're going to probably see them lose. I think that they probably get beat when they go to Notre Dame. Notre Dame gave them all they could handle last year. They just hadn't figured out how to win yet, and they didn't have a quarterback. They got one now. Yeah. I think that the difference in Ohio State is that Jim Knowles. We saw what he did 2 years ago. What he had put together on Oklahoma State's defense.
Yeah.
Is he the guy that is he going to finally get it turned around there? It's not like they don't have talent there at Ohio State, right? It's not like they don't have defensive talent at Ohio State. They've got Larry Johnson. They've got, they've
got talent.
Have turned out the Bosa boys. These dudes know what they're doing. I feel like, you know, if they get it together, but maybe Ryan Day, I think he may be in more trouble than people think he is. He better do something this year. And if he doesn't, they may run him off. I don't think. I mean, because
he can lose. He can lose one game that'll get him fired. He can lose one game that'll get him fired this year.
At what point is Hartline? Do they think, okay, we're about to lose Hartline? We gotta fire Ryan and bring in Brian, right? Because you cannot lose that. You know, you don't want to lose that. I mean, he's he's out recruiting everybody when it comes to receivers. So, I think it's a good game. All right. Bama's got a cupcake. KSU, obviously, they've got, I don't even know who the hell that, Southeast Missouri at K-State. New Mexico at Texas A&M. Watch the Lobos go in there and beat them. They won't.
No,
we got Boise State and Washington could be a fun game
Boise
too.
State, Washington,
that could be a good one. Yes,
sir.
This is you know, we've got a pretty decent. I think we got Tennessee, Virginia on ABC for the 11 o'clock.
Virginia's got
Boise State,
probably
Washington.
the worst. They got probably the worst freaking roster in the country, though. After everything that happened last year at Virginia, poor what's his name, man. He took the wrong damn job, but that's a bad deal for a boy that was from Clemson. Wrong job. Yeah. And then that tragedy that happened, that's terrible.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, Michigan, ECU, hey, Mark, ECU will go and give Michigan a hell of a time. They will. Those guys put together freaking games every year. Didn't they beat NC State last year, or they had them in overtime or something like that? They're a pain in the ass. Now, obviously, it's at the big house, but we've seen them lose at the big house before to crap teams. And I'm not a big Michigan guy. I don't know. There's something wrong there.
It's
Colorado
just
TCU, man. What's that?
What'd you say, Coop?
It's just unattractive football. It's just there's not much.
I really do.
Yeah, it's the Big Ten. You know, that the old school Wisconsin, Brett Bielema, and you know, before him, you know, that's it's yeah. So
yeah, but I think there's a reason for that they do it, though. Obviously, is because it's cold up there, and that I don't know. My question is can Luke Fickell and Phil Longo successfully run that kind of offense in Wisconsin? Because I mean, it gets freaking cold up there. You know,
they'll be good in bowl games.
Yeah, and it's kind of the same thing you're seeing out of Ohio State. You know, that they were the one team that could have beaten Georgia in the playoff, and it was because it was in the dome. You know, it was like being on the track. All right, the next one that I was looking at, let's see, I had obviously we got the Florida-Utah game. Who do you got in that one? I think Florida's going to go in there and win. If Cam's not playing, Florida's going to get them. I mean, I think they beat them with Cam last year. Of course, it was in the swamp, but
yeah, I like Utah in this game. I just think that brand of football, Florida's really in some trouble, and you know, I think that their over/under win total is like 5.5 or 5.5 or 6.5. You know, they named Graham Mertz the starter, right?
Graham Mertz, yes.
Oh, sweet Jesus! Mertz. So we saw him at, you know.
He might be the third stringer too in most places, right?
Yeah, and but yeah, I just I like the Utah brand of football against Florida, especially at home.
Right. Okay. West Virginia, Penn State. That one should be. I love this. North Carolina at South Carolina on Saturday, 5:30 game. That looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. Obviously North Carolina, can they stop anybody? I don't know. They lost a lot of guys. This seems like a game that you might see Spencer Rattler, and they're at home. You might see him get this win. Now he'll go gag one somewhere else, but I think that they get this one maybe. I was giving Stat Guy a hard time one day and thought that may not be. Is Cam playing? I don't think he is, man. No. Who's saying that? Utah, Cam is playing and pissed. All right, I'm gonna have to look at that. Oh, maybe he is. If Cam plays, they win. If Cam plays, they win, I think. Who else we got? I had on here.
The LSU
Oh,
Florida. State.
UTSA Houston. I like that one.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I like UTSA Houston. I think that UTSA could go in and get that. They did everything but beat them and Texas last year.
Yeah.
They gave Texas all they wanted. That Nevada USC game, I think that's another test, because if they don't clean it up on defense, Nevada will make you pay. That they play the type of game that, I mean, they're not great, but they're always solid, man. They're just always solid, and they do kind of a weird deal. And I just don't trust it. Look, man, if you're not getting enough pressure on the court, and you're getting Caleb hit too, by the way, he got sacked twice and he got hit hard a couple of times.
Yeah.
They're not even playing against the best guys they're going to play against on defense yet. They're liable to get him killed. I'm telling you, 8-4 is going to happen. It's going to happen, man. I know that nobody wants to hear it. That's going to happen. All right. Who else you got? Obviously, the LSU Florida State game. Yeah, man. I've got LSU in this one. I don't buy Florida State. I just don't.
I'm taking Florida State.
Yeah.
I think Florida State's going to upset them.
I think that by the end of the year, LSU will be the better team. I think Florida State may get this one done. I just see a team with a lot of expectations, and I want to see how they handle that. Right. Either of those environments, that late Sunday night game, like that's, everybody's looking, everybody is going to be waiting for Jalen Daniels to just absolutely ball out, and he's going to have to, look like a Heisman winner to not have people worried.
Yeah,
I tell you guys,
and that's every week he's got to do that shit. He's been doing it for 2 years. At some point, it comes apart, and I think it came apart at the end of the year.
Guys, I'm going to tell you, I believe that LSU is going to be the biggest disappointment in the SEC this year.
Well, I'm not gonna argue.
Just my thought. I mean,
you could be right. You could be right. Look,
because I think they're on a fine line. I think they're.
It's always a fine line at LSU anyway.
Right.
And if he hasn't gotten that turned around to where they're loving on him yet, maybe.
Yeah.
I think that Jaden Daniels has to throw the ball better. I don't think you can run your way to an SEC championship at quarterback. I think you got to throw the ball. And I don't think that you're going to be able to do that. I just don't think that you're going to be able to do that. And I'm going to tell you something else. When it comes down to that SEC West, I've still got Alabama. I think that we're talking about a top 2 roster in the country still. I don't give a shit what anybody says. They'll figure out a way to slow the game down, make it ugly, and keep you off the damn field and beat you up on defense. He's got older guys that he trusts there. Look, I'll let you know. We're gonna pick the playoff teams in a minute. One of them is going to be Alabama for me. I'm with you that I don't think LSU is going to win the West Division. I think Alabama is.
Yep.
I'm not buying all this 4-loss shit. I'm not. If for them to do that, I could see them losing on the Plains, Coach I, because I already know what you're going to say. I could see them losing on the Plains because that happens. But I do not. And I'll tell you, I do not see them losing home games to LSU or Tennessee. I don't see it. It's at home. They're not going to do the shit. I don't see it going down. Now, could they lose the Texas A&M game? Theoretically. Will they? No. They're not going to this time. It's just, I don't. Look, man, I could see any of those teams beating them maybe, but 4 losses or even 3, I don't buy it, man. I'm not.
No.
I'm off of that.
I agree.
So, all right. I also like listen, I do like LSU in this game, though. I'm still not ready to look. FSU lost to North Carolina State and freaking Wake last year. I could see them losing it. In the end, even if they win it, and maybe they do, because maybe Jordan Travis is a little better but I don't have them beating Clemson for sure. I think that whoever wins it, I mean, it puts the other one in a. And it was a hell of a game last year, by the way. A hell of a game. And LSU did everything but lose it. But I'm going to pick them here. I think that they do get it done. Yeah. And then you've got the Clemson at Duke. That's a tough one right off the bat. for Clemson.
It
right?
is. I
Duke's
agree.
not ranked.
I agree.
Hey, Duke
No.
ain't no joke.
No,
They put some wins on some folks last year. So
I agree.
I don't think they're sneaking up on anybody this year, but I do think that they're a pretty decent team. This is a good one. You're going to have to go in and play. You're going to have to go in and play for Clemson. I do believe in Clemson. I think that their defense, talent-wise, it's as good as it gets aside from Georgia, Alabama, maybe. And so now you get in there and you start thinking about that. I do feel like they're not going on the road and beating Bama. Man, I just don't buy it, man. I don't buy it.
There is a possibility, but it's not a great one.
I mean,
it's 0.00009%.
Yeah. Listen, man. I mean, $1 million could fall out of my butt tomorrow too. I doubt it, but it is what it is. I just don't buy it, man. I don't see them doing it. If they had everything in their favor to win it, and even against Bryce Young, but they were at home. And they still gagged. And I get it that they have their backup, but honestly, Hudson Card wasn't a terrible quarterback. He wasn't. He didn't make as many mistakes as Quinn made last year. So I don't, it is what it is. We're gonna find out. All right. Now, let's say the playoffs. Let's go to this playoff deal. Or the Heisman picks. Who you got winning the Heisman this year? Look, I think if you go 8-4, there's no way Caleb wins it. You hadn't seen anybody do that since Archie Griffin in the freaking 70s. Until I see it, I'm not gonna say that. I think that he's the best player in the country, but I don't think he's going to win the Heisman. Who do you got, Coop? Who's going to win the Heisman? I think guys like, if you look at guys like you got Caleb, but Drake May, Sam Hartman put himself in contention for it this weekend. I think Michael Penix has got a shot. I like DJU. If DJU does what I think he's going to do and win the Pac-12, he could do it.
Well, here's what I think is you look at some of the odds. Caleb Williams, it's going to be easier for a team to lose a few games and still have their quarterback throw up there. But I think that Jordan Travis, Florida State. If Florida State can somehow put together a season, like they had last year, but a little bit better with that step up, guys, they lost to all the good teams that they played last year. Again, you could say that the extra practices helped OU, but I mean, we're really, really close to that, going our way, not theirs. I would say watch Sam Hartman. He was, as of right now, again, jumping at it. Right back, just after one game. But I think Sam Hartman is my leader in the clubhouse already. But I think the dark horse would be if Clemson can put together a one-loss year. Watch for Cade Klubnik, because that they're going to throw the ball. If he can take Garrett Riley's offense and really get in there, he's going to have a good year. And they've
could come down to that Notre Dame game at the end of the year. That game there could be for the Heisman, among other things.
Mm-hmm.
I think that game, because I have them winning. I think right now, if they can keep it together the way that we saw, and again, you can't judge everything off of Navy, we know. But look, there's something about being physical like that. Coach, I was talking about the other night too. They're physical. They're going to attack you at the point of attack. They're going to beat SC. I think that they got an opportunity to beat OSU. My question would be, can they beat Clemson? They might be able to beat all three. They might not. Going to Clemson and winning is a tough deal too. But I do feel like that's going to be for a lot there. I like both of those guys. My pick would I threw in, Dylan could have a hell of a year with that schedule. If he goes in there and lights it up, you might see him, in the talks. Do not freaking turn your back on Jalen Daniels, though. If he gets off to another hot start and doesn't get hurt again and by putting himself in jeopardy, Jalen Daniels is electric. If he could go in there and put them in that, even in the second or third place, for Kansas to get in second or third in the if they were to make the conference championship, they don't have to win it, right? They don't have to win it, and he would probably win the thing. I just feel like, you've seen it. He's kind of a dark horse, but my real dark horse would be DJU. I think that DJU's got a lot to prove right now. He's gotten kind of beaten up.
He does.
For what happened at Clemson. I think that had a lot to do with Streeter. I think that from what his dad told us, he's enjoying this offense. These folks, he loves Coach Smith. He loves it up there. And look, man, they won 10 games last year without a quarterback. This guy can throw it. Coach, he could throw it. He went up 400 and something yards first time against Notre Dame.
Against us, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the guy can throw it. I don't think he just forgot how to throw. So, hey, Marvin Harrison being a sleeper. I like that. Who the hell said Spencer Rattler? There ain't no damn way.
No, I'm sorry. If someone keeps telling you who they are, believe them.
Yeah, they are. Exactly. There ain't no damn way, Spencer Rattler. Did that stat guy pop back in here and say that shit? Marvin Harrison, you could see a receiver do it, but generally speaking, it's going to be a quarterback.
Hey, Jason. So let me
he could sneak in there.
Let me throw something in here.
Okay.
If OU goes 10-1, wins conference championship, whose name's going to get thrown out? I mean, Dylan Gabriel would have to complete less than 65% of his passes, or he'd have to have a bunch of interceptions or something like that. I fully believe that with the threat of the run game and the, just the array of wide receivers that you have, because you can have 2 or 3 of these guys fall flat on their face in the wide receiver room, and you've got people in the back. I mean, Brandon Thompson wasn't even listed on that thing. And that with that speed, they're going to try to. I was watching some old OU highlights the other day, and Jeff Badette. Yeah, Jeff Badette is a guy that I think of as an absolute, just forgotten guy in OU. And he had several games where I think he scored a touchdown against Ohio State. He had a lot of touchdowns, and I was I was like, holy crap.
If he gets in open space, you're not catching him.
No,
you're not catching him. Nobody.
No.
Yeah, there ain't no doubt. Look, I like him. I think that there's an opportunity there. We're going to find out what's going to happen there. But I'm going to tell you, I have him on my list. I put him on my list. I think that Dylan has an opportunity if they go 10-1 or 11-1, 10, maybe 10-2. If they would have to win the conference championship at 10-2 for him to win it. But I think that it could happen. It just kind of depends on what happens. But yeah, I think you're right, Steven. I think Thompson is hurt right now.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, so it's but I think at some point he's probably. But yes, I agree. I think that there's enough weapons that if everything comes together, yeah, you could see him doing it, man. You could see him doing it. Now, again, there would have to be a lot of things have to fall your way. I also like Penix is a really good pick there. I think they run an amazing offense up there at Washington. I think that they have an opportunity to win that conference too. I'm completely off of USC, and I'm not sure that I like Oregon that much because I don't like Bo Picks. I didn't put him down there because I think it's crazy that they're running a freaking Heisman candidacy for him. I think that's bullshit. The dude, hey, look, Dillingham is gone. Now, he may wish that he's back there now after what they just pulled on him. But he's gone. So his sample size without Kenny Dillingham, not so much, right? And even with him at that year that he was at Auburn with him, it wasn't good. But he was a freshman, so I don't know. I'm not a big Bo Nix fan. I do think that if I like anybody in the pack, it's DJU or it's Penix out of those guys. And then I'm with you. I think Klubnik's a guy. I think that right now, I like Sam Hartman. I think that if they can, I think that he's seasoned and he can go out and get that done, right? I mean, he's played enough games that if they can go out and he goes 11-1, yeah, it's his. I don't think that there's any doubt. All right.
And you know what, Jason? Penix is going to have a stretch run in November 4th, 11th, and 18th where he goes to USC, which he's going to be able to throw all over the place. He's going to have Utah at home, which that's going to be tough. It's good it's
Right.
a home, but then it's at Oregon State. So you might see a Penix and DJU, meeting up the, week before Thanksgiving and actually putting on a show.
Oh yeah, I think so too. And I
I
think that
agree.
now they don't have to play Utah and UCLA or USC. I mean, this year, Oregon doesn't. Maybe I think they wish they were playing USC though. I wish
tell
they.
you,
I know
no,
they're
they
not
are.
playing USC.
They are. No, they are. They've got September 30th at Stanford, at Washington, home Washington State, at Utah, home versus Cal, home versus USC, at Arizona State, and then home at Oregon State, or home.
That's
against
Washington.
Oregon State.
That's Washington.
And that's Oregon.
Oregon State.
Oregon plays Utah, Cal, USC, Arizona State.
I was talking
Oregon
about
State.
Oregon State.
Oh, Oregon
I'm
State.
talking DJU. They don't play. They don't play USC unless they get them in like the conference championship game. I'm almost positive that's right. Isn't that right?
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Utah at home, at Arizona, UCLA at home, Washington at home, and then Oregon at Oregon to end the season.
Okay. Yeah. Hey, look, I think that, and they're pissed off about getting left out of all this shit too, right? They don't want to go to the Mountain West. If you find a way into the playoff, does Brett Yormark decide to invite you to the party? I don't know, but
I think he does anyway.
I think they're going to have to. I think that it sounds like ESPN is working that out. I don't know. It makes you wonder why they didn't just work out the Pac-12, but thankfully for the Big 12, they didn't.
I got to think that there was something in the contracts that Yormark wanted to have changed for the networks before they go out and they push out for anybody else.
Yeah, we said Sam Hartman. That was our first one that we talked about. I think that's gonna you might have a battle for the Heisman in that Clemson game right towards the end of the season. That if that comes down and they're both undefeated or whatever, or maybe even just have one loss, it not only could it propel one of them to the playoff, it could definitely make one of those guys a Heisman Trophy winner. We're gonna find out.
And and Jason, as you say that, it could actually, depending on what kind of a ball game it is, it could actually propel both of them to the playoffs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Listen, if they're undefeated at that point, sure. Yeah. I think if Notre Dame goes in there and they lose a 3-point game or something like that,
or vice versa,
either way. I mean, I think it hurts Clemson a little more to lose at home. But I think that if you're Notre Dame and you don't go in there and you lose on a field goal at the gun or something like that, they're not going to kill you on that. No. And particularly when you've beaten SC, who everybody loves, and freaking Ohio State. Yeah. If you've done that, then you're there. I think that all you have to do is just avoid the rest of the landmines, which they're out there.
There's a ton of them. Yeah.
If you do that, then you got a shot, right?
I agree.
Now let's just get into that. Predict the playoffs. Who's going to make the playoffs for you, Coach? Let's go with you first.
Oh, geez. I've struggled with this. Obviously, I'm going with Notre Dame.
Okay.
I do think they'll be in.
Look, they have the schedule to get in there. If they go in with one loss, they can't take. I don't think that you can keep them out.
I think Alabama's back in there. And you know what, guys? From I don't know. I think it's, to me, this year seems like it's wide open. I know everybody says Georgia, but I'm not 100% sold on Georgia being there again.
Schedule though. Their tough game is going to be at Tennessee.
Yeah, and that's true scheduling wise. So I guess you almost have to put them in. So, and again, I've kind of always been of the mindset, if until somebody dethrones you.
Fair.
So I would say Georgia, Notre Dame, and Alabama, and again, I'm going to say I'm going to go ahead and put the fourth team in there as Clemson.
Okay. So you've got Bama, Notre Dame, Clemson, and Georgia. Okay. No Big Ten team. I like it. I like that playoff.
No.
I don't know that happens.
No, I
like
agree
that
with you.
playoff.
I agree, but I just I don't know.
Hit us with it there, Coop.
All right. So I think Georgia's schedule is so easy. It's, I mean, if I was not an OU fan right now, I'd be calling for a lot. But I mean, that schedule is,
Yeah, you can't say shit because of our schedule.
Can't say a word. So I'm going to say Georgia, and I think Alabama gets in too. I think that Nick Saban knew what he was doing, talking about it last year. He was posturing here for this year.
Yep.
You know, this may be a situation where they go 1-1, and I don't think an undefeated is making it in this year. I do think that maybe Georgia and Alabama come in with one loss.
Okay.
I'm gonna say Michigan. I think Michigan does make it through. I think Ohio State just has a hell of a road. They've got so much unproven, and I think that they make Bama and Georgia meet up in as like the 1-3 or the 2, or the 1-4, whatever.
Do that, right?
The loser of the game, and I'm gonna go full homer. I say Oklahoma, and we get Michigan, and I think that Michigan plays the Big 12 team again, and we've never got to play a Michigan.
That's true.
Again, so
and look, this is not the same foot. This is not, if they do that, this is not the same football team as what Lincoln Riley was taking to the party either.
no.
Now, are they ready for it yet? I doubt it. But but I'm with you. Go. Yeah, I'm with you. Tell me why.
It's not full on homer. I think that the fact is I think that Clemson stumbles a little bit this year. I don't see anybody out of the pack making it in there. I mean, they're just going to kill each other out there. So I think it's a situation where with OU's schedule is absolutely cakewalk. And if they take care of it and OU's 10-1, or God forgive my heart attack that I'd have if they're 12-0 or something like that. Yeah. But again, if you go backtrack, we played LSU, which had one of the better teams in history. Then we played Alabama. And again, that was they just came and they just took it to our offensive line. They went at our strength and took that away. Quinnen Williams destroyed us, and Kyler Murray damn near made it a game. And then you go further back with
so early out of hands. So
you go backwards. But so if Oklahoma can do, again, you can't say just forget last year, but if we were looking at this schedule this year without the thoughts of last year, everybody would be like, I don't see a loss.
Yeah. Okay. Bama, Clemson, FSU. Whoa. And OU? Hank, you're going to have to explain this in Discord later.
Two ACC teams.
Two ACC teams. And not the defending champ. Have you been drinking already, Hank?
Hey, I do have a question for you though, Coop. Earlier you said, because it doesn't match up for me, because earlier you said you had Hartman as your Heisman leader right now, but you don't have him in the Final Four.
Well, and I also said that I don't think that there's going to be a lot of undefeated runs this year.
Gotcha.
And I said Hartman is leader in the Clubhouse after 2 games played in all of college football. But Notre Dame, and I trust me, I went back there and I looked. With the Ohio State, USC, Pittsburgh, I think is a tough game because it's between the USC and Clemson game, and then at Clemson. I would say it would be hard. Yeah. It would be hard to get there now until the Tennessee State, NC State, Central Michigan. I don't know. Watch out for them Chippewas. They like to screw people's parties up. Really? But I think that the bias against Notre Dame is always going to be there, extremely. And if somehow they,
they put them in before. And here's the thing: Notre Dame's going to bring people to the party if they get there. They like having them in the playoff, man. I mean, they were in the playoff with us that year, with Oklahoma that year too. I think if it's between them and somebody else, it's going to be Notre Dame getting in. They've got a good schedule, man, too. If they have one loss, I don't necessarily doubt it. I think what you would hope, what you have to hope is that Clemson holds up and SC doesn't fall apart. If one of those wins starts not looking as good, but then you still got some other games that are pretty good. But I still think SC's going 8-4. So I think that, I don't know, man. I feel like that's a big deal for them. But I think that if they get through that 2-1 and win all and don't catch any landmines from Pitt or Louisville or NC State, Wake Forest, Duke. Yeah, look, man. I mean, if you can avoid those landmines, which isn't easy, then I think they stick them in.
I agree.
But we'll find out.
So let me ask you this: say you got Notre Dame at 10-1, you got Clemson at 10-1, wins the ACC, and Oklahoma at 10-1, winning the Big 12. Who do you put in? You went mute again.
You muted.
I don't know why I did that. How I did that. Notre Dame doesn't play
conference champions.
That doesn't have a
conference championship
game. So yeah, maybe. I think that's where it hurts Notre Dame in that sense. At 11-1, yeah. Is there going to be that many 11-1 teams? Maybe, maybe not. But here's the deal.
But I'm saying if you have to pick,
if you had that, yeah.
Wait. Okay, so if they beat Clemson, then they're in. If they lost to Clemson, then they're not probably. It just a bit. But then again, look. If Oklahoma goes and wins the conference championship, and the only two teams they've really played all year is Texas and whoever they get in the conference championship game, their resume isn't as good.
Yeah,
unless they have a top 10 defense like what they were what Pearson says, but I don't know that I believe that.
And you got to look at strength. You got to look at strength of schedule, guys. When you start getting into those tiebreakers like that, you definitely got to look at that.
I think so too. And I mean, because you look at it, I mean, Oklahoma, unless which this does happen every year that one of those teams that's those expected to win 6 or 7 games wins 10. So the schedule could get tougher. I don't really see it getting tougher, but it could, maybe TCU is better than we're giving them credit for. I don't think so, but maybe they are. If they can get that win, that would help their resume a little bit. I have a hard time believing that a year after 6 and 7, they would pick them over Clemson. I do. I have a hard time believing they pick Oklahoma. I could be wrong. But I mean, what do you think?
And me personally, guys, I think
you asked the question. But what are your thoughts?
I mean, the last couple of times, and Alabama got left out, here recently. But the last couple of times, it was, hey, listen, if there's I mean that this is true. Clemson does have more stock, but I was just saying it with the conference championships because. Again, say Michigan is 10-1. So you got Michigan, Clemson, Notre Dame, Oklahoma there. Hey, how are you going to tell, 2 top tier programs and, with Michigan's been there, was it two years in a row? Yeah. How are you going to tell them like, hey, sorry, they got a lot of viewing. Listen, I'm in that business and I understand, but there's, Notre Dame is a different animal, but at the same time, I mean, I got to say that, we're having a good day. This is
a great conversation.
If we're talking Michigan, they'll fuck Notre Dame right now. They will. That's the big problem with them being in the Big Ten.
Yeah,
it's Michigan and them. It's not Ohio State or anybody else. It's Michigan.
Yeah,
and also, I think Steele just said it. Say that Clemson beats the dog shit out of absolutely everybody they play, and OU wins a couple nail biters. Yeah. That sways them. Or say that Notre Dame does make it through 3 top 10 preseason teams, and but 2 of them are, one score games or something like that. And, Oklahoma and Clemson blow out everybody. It's going to be that. But
I think that what you're going to have to do, I think you have to have a 2000 year and go undefeated to get in it. I really do.
Now, I think that if a Pac-10 sends, a 1-loss team out and they're up against Notre Dame, I think Notre Dame gets in, immediately.
Yeah. They don't like the Pac-12 and they're about to die. So, they're going to let it go. Yeah.
The Pac-4.
Yeah. I feel like unless somehow, but I think Cam, if he's going to play or whatever, he's a dog, but could he play well enough for Utah to do it? Again, to win another one and only lose one, maybe.
I think they're
each other. I think here's what I'll tell you though is I'm going to give you my 4. So I've got Georgia because they have the easiest schedule to get there. They're not going to lose at Rocky Top. I'm sorry, they're not. I love Josh. I'd like to see him beat them. They're not. I think that if they're going to lose one, it's probably going to be to Alabama. I think that Alabama's in a pissy mood for not. Look, there's 2 sides of this, and we're not going to get into all this right now. But I kind of feel like we're seeing some things out of Saban that we've never seen. He's not releasing a depth chart. Period. He's never done that before. He's never done that 2 weeks out. He's always had it. He's never. I think there's that paranoia. We've been talking about paranoia with Nick Saban for a while now, and he is paranoid. Does that hurt or help him? I don't know yet. But I do say that I think that this year they're going to do what they do with Jaden Milroe. They're going to run the football a lot. They're going to ugly up games, and they're going to play better defense. He's got his guy, and Pruitt's there, as a de facto guy, as an analyst or whatever until the NCAA. I don't know why they give a shit about the NCAA, but it's not like money wasn't getting paid in freaking sacks of Chick-fil-A before that, But this guy he's been the coordinator on national championship teams of Alabama's before. They're going to go back to old school. I think Milroe throws the ball better than people give him credit for. I think that system didn't work for him. I think they go in there. There's no damn way that Texas is going to beat them. There ain't no damn way that LSU goes in, and I don't think there's any way Tennessee does either. They're not going to lose those games at home. Could they lose to Auburn? Yes, Coach Hyde, they could. But I do not buy LSU, and I don't buy any of them going to Tuscaloosa and winning. And they don't have to deal with Georgia until the conference championship game. I think they're probably undefeated. I think Georgia's probably undefeated. I think they both get in. I've got Georgia and Alabama in it. One's going to be the 4 seed. One's going to be the 1. Mm-hmm. I got Clemson. I don't buy FSU until show me you can beat NC State, Wake, and Clemson. They beaten you 8 years in a row. Show me that shit. I don't buy FSU. I don't. And I'm back and forth on this one. I don't think there's a way in hell that Michigan wins 3 in a row against Ohio State. I just don't think there's a way in hell. And I don't know why I think that. And I know that they own them right now. I just don't think there's a way in hell that they win 3 in a row. And it's in the big house, and I still think they're going to lose it. I think Ohio State probably sneaks in there. Yeah. I think they love Ohio State, man. I think they do. And if their defense is better, that'll be the difference, right? Because they have the best receiver room. They're going to play pretty well. They're going to play pretty well offense. They got the best wide receiver room in the country, period, by a lot, right? Yeah, because there's nothing to that. There's nothing to it. Listen, Coach, I could be way off, man. I could be way off, but there's just something that I ain't kicking Saban down the road yet. I'm not, man. He's got a top 2 freaking talent roster in the country.
I agree with you.
He just does. They're going to play defense and they're going to ugly up the game. And Milroe can throw it good enough to, throw deep balls. Hell, better than McNamara. Come on. I just don't buy it with them. I think that they get it done. Now, maybe they don't, but I think if they were to do, like what Razorback Zach said on your show, if they were to lose 2 or 3 games, you might see him leave. I kind of doubt that too, but you never know. I don't see them losing that many games. I could see them maybe losing one during the regular season, but I don't. If they do that, then they're still going to, I think then they win the SEC. I think they get in. All right, I'm going to go with Ohio State, but I'm just going to throw this in there. My out of nowhere playoff team, my crazy pick, off the wall pick, Oregon State's going to make the playoff. They're going to win. They've got a good, they won some big games. They got some big games at home. They get to dodge a couple of bullets in the regular season. I think they could go out there and do it. I said it's a bold prediction, a pick that you don't really expect. But I've got Ohio State in there. So I've got Georgia, Clemson, Ohio State, Bama. It's chalk, but that's who I got. Am I crazy, folks? Am I crazy?
You are on waivers.
Who would be your off the wall college football playoff entrant? Off the wall. Because that's an off the wall pick for me. I mean, I'm not picking them in the regular.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's off the wall.
Penn State.
Okay.
That's funny you say that because that's exactly what I was going to say. Penn State.
They got to prove. See, they got to prove they can beat either or Michigan.
Yeah.
Or here's the other. And thinking of that, what happens if they all three beat each other?
Then they'll watch other teams play in the playoffs.
Yeah.
They sure will. They sure will.
Because if they all three beat each other, then two of them are going to meet in the championship game still. And
yeah. Look, I could see Oklahoma. I mean, I'm not ready to. It's not that I don't think they were good enough to maybe do it. I do think they might be able to. I'm not drinking that Kool-Aid till I see them do it because I just don't want to. I'm tired of being let down in that playoff. I
think their schedule hurts them a ton. I mean, I know it helps them win games, but I don't think that schedule helps them with the committee.
Coach I, you got the same one as me on your off the wall. Who'd you have in your regular one? Was it Michigan? Who'd you have in your regular one? I forgot from the other one. Franklin ain't it. Not buying it. Yeah, listen, I think that Franklin needs to start proving it, right? I mean, you got to win. You got to beat these guys. And it's not like you can't recruit. I think but, to hear everybody tell it that have they really improved that much at quarterback with this guy, Drew Aller? Do we really buy him that much?
Yeah, I mean, you said, again, off the wall. I think
I'm good with
I
that.
I think that there's a chance with all the stuff going on with Michigan, they could slip up quite a bit. Ohio State, again, we're gonna have to see it from the quarterback because that's a brand new guy. And Jim Knowles, everybody has so much hype around Jim Knowles. Jim Knowles had one good defense at Oklahoma State. And that's because there were 11 sixth-year, seniors playing defense, and they had a couple of really, quality college players. And that next year, we heard defense again, and they were giving up 30 on the reg. And so I don't Jim Knowles is there because he did something, and I think there were other factors outside that. I don't think he's a garbage coach, but I sure as hell don't think that he's any better than an Alex Grinch. Ohio State hasn't shown it. Michigan, you know what Michigan's going to do? They're going to throw the ball 23 to 25 times a game, and they're going to run it 60 times a game. Ohio State has known that year after year after year, and they can't stop it the past 2 years. I don't see it changing this year. And that's with Bosa's, that's with all of their, first and second round defensive backs and everything like that. It's, I don't think that they've got a defensive coordinator in there. I mean, for what they have from a talent standpoint, they should be a hell of a lot better.
Yeah. Big Bumbo. Yeah, you're a silly boy if you think that they're not. I mean, have you seen that last half of their schedule? Y'all couldn't stop SJSU. If you let freaking a school that uses 4 initials get 200 rushing yards on you, you have a sucky defense.
And 28 points.
Yeah. They should have had. They almost had 40. And man, they dropped a couple of balls that were touchdowns too. They did. That defense is still hot garbage, bro. Watch and see. You're going to be crying at the end of the year. Sorry to tell you that, but I'm not that sorry. Yeah.
USC fans are going to be whispering, "Hey, did you hear that Lincoln might leave?" Oh yeah, we're hearing it. It's going to be there again. It's the script was there. We told everybody all over Twitter, this is what you're going to expect. You're going to, never be able to hold on to leads. You're always going to be looking over your shoulder. You're going to have great offense, and your defense is going to look like, I mean, it's just terrible. Absolutely terrible.
It's trash, man. And look, man, we've seen this movie before. You guys can say whatever you want, that we're, it's all this. Every time you hear a USC fan, it's always, that we're just being haters and we're pissed off and blah, blah, blah. Nobody's mad. I promise you, there's nobody mad that Lincoln Riley is not the coach at Oklahoma.
Actually glad.
Everybody's glad that Lincoln is not the coach at Oklahoma anymore.
Yeah,
I'm going to win money off of Shelton at High Top. He bet me $50 last night that they get more wins in Oklahoma. I said, you're out of your freaking mind, but go for it. Let's do it.
No, it's
we're not crying about it. Did you just hear what we said, bud? We're happy he's gone. Believe that. You probably will be happy that he's gone too. Look, I love Caleb Williams. I think that he's the best player in the country. You do realize that he's been exposed now. Lincoln has. Tulane beat him. Utah got him twice. It's out there. Like I said, 4-letter freaking abbreviations of schools do not need to put up 230 rushing yards on you. You had losses from the sacks. It wasn't good, man. They're not good. That would be awesome, but it ain't.
I would absolutely love it, but I don't think USC can hold up their side.
Yeah, I don't see. They're gonna go freaking. Yeah, they're Benny Wiley soft yoga instructor. I'm telling you, Bear's gonna lose 40 pounds by the end of this year.
Sitting up in that big old apartment.
Coach, you said the same thing. You've got Penn State as your off the waller.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We ain't going to the playoffs, but 8-4 in the pack. Come on. Yeah. Okay. Look at the end of it. Wait and see. Bring it on. Bring it on. What do you think they're gonna? They ain't going to the playoffs. No way. And you're not. Hey, look. Did you think you were gonna lose to Tulane last year?
And I want to point out the Utah Conference Championship game. That wasn't a loss. That was
shit
an
beat
ass
out of you.
whooping.
Yes, because he got hurt. Yeah, he got him hurt. They're dogs. USC isn't. That's what we were talking. You weren't here at the first of the show. I'm gonna tell you right now. There's a difference in like what Notre Dame's gonna beat y'all. Notre Dame's gonna beat y'all. You know why? Because they are freaking. They're physical. You guys are soft as baby shit. Soft. Finesse. It's too much finesse, bro. Sorry. Just like old Tammy Prangle. Soft as baby shit. All right. Got to do it. All right, boys. Thanks, everybody, for coming in here. We've been on here for a shit long time.
Always.
Yeah, hey, we appreciate you coming in, Coop, and helping us out. I may get a hold of you here later on, and maybe we'll hit a couple of videos this week. I want to hit a couple more little previews type of deals. I'm going to do one. If you've been on, got a Texas Tech preview coming up here on Thursday. We will also have Coach I will be on the show Thursday night. We're going to do another live. If you want to come on, Coop. Coach, we'd love to have you back on Thursday night. I know you got football starting up, so I don't know what you're going to do, but it's let me know.
Up, man.
Coach them up. I'll help you with that if you want me to. I'm here. We'll have a lot of fun with that. I like that shit. All right. But yeah, thanks for coming in, Big Bumbo. But yeah, you wrong. Thanks to everybody for coming in. We appreciate that. If you hadn't already hit the like button, make sure to wipe your feet on the way out. And make sure, yeah, hey, become a channel member though. You know, we've got, I think, 14 or 15 members. It'd be great to help out the show. You could also jump in and get our official podcast merchandise. It includes SUC wear. SUC wear. Get in there and check that out. We've got the horns down stuff as well. If you are if you're a tailgater, jump on there on that Louisiana Grills website through our link. You get up to $100 off any of the Black Label stuff. Amazing grills and smokers that they got there. And then, hey, don't forget to get all your licensed memorabilia and gear from Fanatics right through our partner link, hofmedia.us/Fanatics. Get up to 65% off everything in the store. Oftentimes free shipping. You're not going to get a better deal from them, from Fanatics anywhere. So check it all out. You could always just make sure you hit the like button. That helps us as well. But, share us, help us get to that. We're trying to get up to, it'd be cool if we were up to 2,500 by the weekend, but I think by the next month it'd be okay too. But hey, I appreciate everybody coming out. Coop, tell everybody how to find you.
Yeah, check us out, Unfair Sports. We go live every Sunday night. We're going to be doing Wednesday night and probably Saturday night post-game shows. You can check me, CoopRide1982 on Twitter, and be watching here because as I get passable information for a couple guys coming in this week and stuff like that, I'll be dropping that on there too. Perfect.
Coach, go get some sleep, man. You look tired as hell. You've been on the freaking plane for 30 hours.
I am tired. It's that jet lag is kicking my patootie.
Hey, man, we appreciate it. Hey, Kim, thank you so much for coming in. Everybody, Steve, Kim, Coach I, thank you again for coming in here. Let me run through here and say hi to everybody. Steve B, Big Bumble, thank you for coming in as well. Perfect. We love you, man. Hank always in there. The Mafia, I love the Hall of Fame Mafia. Thank you guys so much for coming in. Steele, Stephen G, make sure I get them all. Adela, love you, Adela. And don't forget Lori Chicken, my boy Chicken. We love Chicken too. Lester, all you guys, hey, hit the like button on your way out, and we will see you guys on the next one.